Hey y'all, and welcome back to another episode of Becoming No One. This is your spiritual bestie, Big Taj, and today we're going to continue on with the series. We're on episode 8, and in this episode we're going to talk about a couple different definitions, and then we're going to move into the soul's full journey so you can understand what a descent in this reality actually looks like. So some of the definitions that we're going to be going over today is flame vitality and what is a living pillar. We'll talk about the full soul journey, a path of flame remembrance, reclaiming the path, so the stages, thresholds, and spiritual catalysts that you'll have to go through, the path of flame sovereignty, flame integration, so alchemy, flame alchemy, and pillar of coherence. So a lot of information packed into this one episode today. Again, this was a live recording. It was done on TikTok and YouTube a couple months ago, and I'm just posting these on the podcast for those of you who prefer a podcast over YouTube or getting on live. So if you hear me talking crazy or you hear me talking to people in the background, that is why. I hope you guys really enjoy this episode. Happy healing, friends. This is not what I wanted. Today we're gonna be talking about the soul's journey and the descent. Because I don't know if y'all were on the last live, but in the last live we talked about how I needed to backtrack a little bit from Amara so that we can kind of understand her better when I tell you guys about the things that she did at the fall of Atlantis, right? And so last week we backtracked a little bit and talked about what did we talk about last week? We talked about high heart consciousness. We talked about Christ consciousness. We talked about stellar energy. We also talked about what Amara did before Atlantis and why some of us descended into this reality, which was to basically seed Atlantis. A lot of us were star seeds that were meant to seed Atlantis, right? So we kind of talked about that journey, and we talked about what other humans, beings, whatever, were in Atlantis with us, and the significance of the family that we were born into, right? Which is that a lot of times they are not our soul family. We were just meant to go into those timelines because within their trauma and their pain, they held codes that we need access to, right? So after that, we talked about the splitting of the earth. And now what I want to do in this episode is actually talk about the soul's journey and what it's supposed to look like, because I feel like we haven't talked about that. And in order for us to truly understand Amara and like what she embodied, what she stood for, and why she did the things that she did, we have to understand who she was as a person, or who she was as a being, and the things that she stood for, which means that we have to understand what we stand for and what we came here for, because she was supposed to be a leader of us, of this journey. So we need to know what the journey is to understand why she made the choices that she made, how she existed as a being, because she was the example for us to follow. Okay. So it's almost like a as above, so below type of situation today. And we're not going to talk about Amara per se today. What we need to talk about is the full soul's journey. We need to go over some definitions, talk about this path of flame remembrance, and then we need to talk about how do we reclaim that path. And then we'll talk about the path of sovereignty as well. Flame remembrance is going to be the water path, whereas flame sovereignty is going to be the fire path, right? And then we talk about flame integration as well, okay? So everything in this reality is basically split between hot and cold, fire and water. Like those are the two main energies, and then earth and air just kind of support those. So we're going to talk a little bit about elemental and how to use the elements within you as well, because we are made up of the 5 elements, and that's fire, water, air, earth, aether. Okay. So I'm going to kind of talk to you today about how to use that technology and stuff like that. So I think today's episode for me was more about getting us to understand who we were, where we kind of fit into this realm of things. And if we can understand that, then we can understand Amara and why she made some of the decisions that she made, and also what she embodied, because our journey was to reach her, meaning like pillar coherence. Our journey was to become a flame, a living pillar, and our journey was to embody our oversoul, and that's something that she did naturally. She was supposed to be the example of that for us to see. Okay, so hey AJ, let me go back and say hi. Hey Kennedy, hey Smiley Ray, hey Teresa, hey Memory, hey Nia. Oh, I haven't seen you in a minute, but where you been at? Where you been at, girl? Okay. So hey y'all, welcome, welcome, welcome. So we're gonna get started. It's been about 5 minutes. Well, I haven't been on for 5 minutes, but I usually try to give people about 5 minutes to get in here, and then we can kind of look into it. Y'all, I have been sat. I don't know if y'all have been watching Love Island, but I have literally been sat. I don't usually get entangled into reality TV shows, but I watched last season of Love Island because I really loved Serena. And so my brother was like, "You should watch this season. You should just watch it." And so I watched it, and I am an addict. Hi, my name is Taja, and I'm an addict. Hey, Natalia, I'm sorry. Um, so yeah, I have thoughts, but I try not to talk about people online because I just feel like that's so unfair. I think a lot of people are ganging up on one of the girls on the show, and I hope they have the realization that there have been 3 people on that show who have committed suicide because of the hate that they got once they got out the villa. And it's a really sad situation because I just feel like, um, these are people, and the person on the show obviously has a abandonment wound that's screaming for help. She needs therapy. Just working and learning, girl. I'll be taking a trip to Cali in August. I love to network. Oh, hit me up, girl. I would love that. Can I ask you a question, please? Sure. Real quick, though, because I got something to do today. I'll wait for your question and then I'll go ahead and get started. What are the power days of the zodiac cycle? Like what days to plan? The best day to plan is Wednesday. It's today. Today is a good day for brainstorming. It's a good day for delivering communication. That's why I do my lives on Wednesdays. But it's a good day for communication, hard conversations, and stuff like that. But it's also a good day for strategy. So today would be a good day to plan. Tomorrow on Thursdays would be a good day to research, to learn, to try something new because we're about Jupiter, whereas today's we're about Mercury, which is communication and intellect. So today is the day of the mind and the voice. Tuesdays are good days to start something new. I don't know how I'm getting a live restriction already. It's crazy. Tuesdays are good days to start something new. Mondays are good days for setting the tone for your week. Mondays are ruled by the moon, so they're going to be a little bit more emotionally heavy. Fridays are good days to do something that you enjoy doing. For example, it's ruled by Venus, so it's about pleasure and having fun and enjoying life. Self-care will be really good on Friday. Saturday is good for rest, but it also is good for running errands and stuff like that. Most people say rest because of the Sabbath, but that's not all the way true. Yes, rest is important because of Saturn being the planet of melancholy. Melancholy is basically like it's that energy you get into when you're trying to figure something out. Like after you've been overthinking and overthinking and overthinking, right? Saturday is a really good day. Melancholy is the energy that kicks in to try to help you to survive by any means necessary. So it kind of feels like a low vibrating energy. It kind of feels like depression and sadness, but it's not. When you actually seek to understand it, it gives you idea after idea after idea. It's trying to help you to figure it out, but it makes you feel exhausted in the process. So that's why it's a good day to rest, but it also is a good day to run errands and stuff like that because Saturn is helps you to get things done because it's Capricorn energy. Capricorn likes to get shit done. On one end, and on the other end is Aquarius energy. And then Sunday is a good day for resetting, recharging, that type of thing. Wednesday is a communication day. Hey, Crystal. Okay, boom, we're starting. I'm trying to figure out how did I get from some audiences? Your live contains themes that may not find uncomfortable and may be restricted. Suicide and self-harm. I didn't say nothing about that. Oh, I did. Okay. Well, anyways. I did because I said the thing about Love Island and people have, unalived themselves because of that show. So yeah, anyways, let's get started. So today, again, we're going to talk about, we're going to open up with some definitions. We're going to talk about the full soul's journey. Basically, before we came here, through us being here and what we came here to do. We're going to talk about the path towards flame remembrance because all of us are here. Hey, Chloe. All of us are here to remember. It's not that we are trying to create something new. It's already been created. We're just remembering who we were, why we came here. And then reclaiming that path. So we're going to talk about the stages. We're going to talk about threshold points, meaning like there's certain birthday points that are really, really important. So astrology kind of pulls into this. And then we're going to also talk about spiritual catalysts that we meet along the way, people who we meet who are meant to awaken us. And then we'll talk about the path of flame sovereignty, which is reclaiming your truth, basically reclaiming your power. And then flame integration, which is a little bit about soul alchemy, flame alchemy, and coherence are really, really important parts of that. Okay. So what I want to do is start with two definitions. The first definition is going to be flame fidelity. Okay, flame fidelity. And anytime I say flame, y'all, I need y'all to understand that flame is truth. It is your truth. Okay, the flame that you hold is your truth. It's almost like when you speak from your heart, like that's your truth, you know? Okay, so flame fidelity is a devotion to your original frequency, no matter who is watching, no matter who leaves, no matter what it costs you. Okay, staying true to yourself. You know, and when I think about this, I think about those moments in my life where I felt like, well, actually, we'll get there. Okay. So staying true to yourself is basically what flame fidelity is. And it's the practice of holding your tone, even when the world wants you to soften. Okay. It's refusing to collapse into mimic roles, which is basically being digestible to other people, even when it seems like it's going to be safer for you to do that, even when everybody is against you. This is giving into what you know is not you. You know, it's like that's what a collapse is. A collapse is, you know, for a fact that this is not you and you don't want to do something, but you do it anyways. Okay. Just because you're trying to belong or you're trying to appease people or whatever the case may be. Choosing coherence over convenience, meaning like even when it's inconvenient for you, you got to stay true to yourself. That's what flame fidelity is. Okay. And it's saying, this is my truth. I will not dim it for approval, for belonging, or for comfort. And this isn't rigidness. It's actually radiant integrity. This is about integrity of who you are as a person. Okay. So there have been many times in my life where I felt like I knew somebody was doing something wrong or immoral, and I would speak up about it. And a lot of things that I was told is that you're too serious. You got to stick up your ass. You stuck in the mud. You're boring. You're stuck up. All of those things, right? You take things too serious, right? And sometimes I folded, other times I didn't. But that's exactly what this is. You know, I remember specific moments when I was a kid. Because I got locked up when I was 12, y'all, because we were stealing. Listen. Don't judge me. I told y'all I'm not a perfect human. But I remember before we went there, the whole way there, I kept saying like, no, y'all, we shouldn't do this. Like for some reason, I got a bad feeling about it that day. And I was like, no, I don't think we should do this or whatever. And my brother and my cousin got in a fight right before we got there, and it was snow outside. And he like stuffed her face in this pea snow, and she ended up going home. And for some reason, I kept like seeing myself jumping the fence, and I was like, I don't really know, but whatever, went through with it, ended up getting locked up, and it was the whole fucking thing. I was only 12 though, so you know. But I remember moments like that where I felt like I was always being told, you take stuff too serious, like you're boring. That's what I get. You're being boring. Like, why don't you want to drink? Why don't you want to do this? Why don't you? And it's like, those are the moments. Those are the moments when you need integrity the most, is basically what I'm trying to explain to you. Okay. So flame fidelity basically means that you don't betray your knowingness to be digestible to other people. You don't perform your power to feel seen, meaning like if you have gifts, right? You not going around just randomly reading people, or you sitting in a cafe. I remember last year I seen a video of this psychic who was sitting in the cafe, and her friend was like drinking coffee, and there was a couple arguing, and the psychic was basically tapping into their conversation and telling her friend what they was arguing about. That's a no. That's an ethical issue, right? But also she wanted to be seen as somebody who had a gift, who had a power, who was special, you know? So that's what I mean by performing your power. All right. You don't abandon your silence to fill space. And what I mean by that is there have been specific moments in my life where somebody says something completely fucking asinine, something that I completely do not agree with. For example, I was talking to a friend one time, and we were basically just getting to know each other. And she was talking about how in high school there was a guy who was messing with somebody she was messing with, or there was a guy that she was going with that was cheating on her with this girl. And basically through the whole conversation, what I gathered was that she was a mean girl and that she blocked this girl's college opportunities because of a man, but didn't hold the man accountable at all. Right. And I remember as she's telling me this is right when I'm starting to like really, really deepen myself into my journey. And I looked at her and I just sat there. But I looked and I was just like, what are you about to say? And I start trying to scramble to figure out what I was about to say. But then I realized I don't need to say anything at all. Like, I don't even need to engage with that. And I just looked at her and I just was like, that's interesting. And I turned away. And for some reason, I feel like something shifted in her. Like something shifted in the energy. And I just was like, I don't have nothing to say back to that. Like, if I say anything, baby. And I'll be always cautious of what I got to say too, because I know when I open my mouth, it's some real shit, and I feel like some people don't be at the place where they could take that. But you don't abandon your silence when there's nothing to say, when there's nothing to do. Like, it's just, you don't, okay? And you walk as flame, okay? Even when no one understands your light, like you still walk in your truth, even when nobody gets it, okay? But basically what flame fidelity is the quiet vow that your oversoul made before descent. So that vow sounds like, if I forget myself, let my fire remind me. And those moments where that's happening, it literally feels like there's a rising in your chest. You know how like I don't know, at work and somebody is doing something obnoxious, or somebody is doing something that's not right, or somebody's bullying somebody, and you legitimately cannot keep it in because it's like coming at it, like it literally is burning your chest, it's coming up. I don't know if y'all ever had those moments, but sometimes if I see somebody doing an injustice or abusing kids or whatever the fucking case, I cannot shut up. I have to say something. It's like my body has a visceral reaction. That's what it means. Let my fire remind me. It's like you have that moment where you really don't have control of yourself. You're not wrong in a situation, but you're trying to contain it, but it cannot be contained. It's like that. Okay. Yeah. It's like that. I almost jumped in a kid's fight one time. Yes. It's like that. It's like that. It's like, no, this is wrong. Like you have no other choice but to speak your truth in that moment. And you speak from the heart. It's like you don't even know what you said in that moment after it's all said and done, but you know that it was valid. Like that it was valid, but you don't know what the fuck you said. It's like those moments. Okay. So that's what flame fidelity is. It's basically being true to yourself. It's about integrity. Okay. Integrity of your energy, integrity of your gifts, all of that. Okay. The next word that I want to talk about is being a living pillar. Okay, being a living pillar. A living pillar is someone who holds the frequency of truth in their body so fully that they become stabilizing architecture for others to remember. Okay, and this isn't just a title. It's who you become when the oversoul has fully landed in your field, when the shadow has been integrated and the flame has been claimed. Meaning, like, you claim your truth. It is what it is. Whatever versions of yourself that you've been, you're comfortable being those versions out loud, even if it was at some point humiliating or embarrassing or whatever it is. It's almost like, can't nobody hurt me with my truth. I've integrated myself so much. I don't care what you know about me. It don't make me no never mind. Yes, I did that shit. Yeah, I did. And this was what was going on at that time. Not that this is an excuse, but this is what I was going through at that time. And yeah, that's the choice that I made. I'm capable of that. Absolutely. That's what it means to claim your truth. Okay. So as a living pillar, you hold energetic structure in chaotic spaces. You walk into distortion and you don't collapse or react. And what I mean by that is, I don't know about you guys, but there's been certain points in my life where specific people can affect me. And it doesn't matter what the situation is. Specific people can get under my skin. And a lot of times that's my brother and my mama. Everybody else, I could probably let that shit roll. But my brother and my mama, when they say something, it really affects me, right? So I would have these situations where I would get into arguments with my brother and he would say, like, I feel like sometimes he doesn't care about the context of the argument and just winning the argument. And I don't know if y'all have ever been in an argument or a conflict with somebody who only cares about winning the argument. It's like they're not hearing what you're actually saying. They're just trying to humiliate you or whatever the case may be, right? And there always becomes a point in the argument where insults start getting thrown. And I used to take those insults to heart, and I would immediately, like the next day, I would be in this energy that's almost unbearable. And I would end up at the gym or somewhere trying to like burn it off and like thinking about all the ways, reflecting and thinking maybe I'm the problem, right? And so I start adjusting myself and tweaking myself and things like that. And we had a moment in our most recent argument, which was months ago, where that started to happen. And I literally said to myself in my head, nobody is more qualified to say who I am than I am. I feel like I live with myself. I do the work every day. Nobody is with me doing that work. So some of the things that people say to me, they're not qualified to say because they're on the outside looking in. Only I can say who I am, and your truth of me does not have to be my truth of me. And that was a ground shaking moment for me, because I felt like that's the first time in my life where I realized that being perceived is not the problem. Me taking on what people say about me is the problem, and I have this fear of being perceived, and I walk on eggshells, or I try to show up in a specific way just because I don't want to hurt people or harm people or whatever the case may be. But the truth of the matter is sometimes you're just gonna fucking disappoint people. And just because somebody has an opinion of you does not mean that that's rooted in any type of fact, any type of evidence. Opinions is just energy. When I could let that land in my field, it changes everything, because I now have control over who I am, not the people around me. That's what I mean by you're able to walk in distortion and you don't collapse or you don't react to it. Normal me would have exploded. We would have just been throwing insults. We would have been going for the jugular, But this version of me is like, I don't have to do that. And I could see exactly what the issue is. You just want to be right. It's not that you don't understand what I'm saying. You're determined to misunderstand me because you want to win the argument. And that's more important to you than what we're actually talking about. So I'm not going to be able to get through to you. And I have entered into the stage of my life where I can tell when people are determined to misunderstand me, and when it's not about what we actually talking about, it's about something else. I can tell when that is happening, and I don't feed into that. I don't let my message get lost in the mess. I still speak my truth. I don't back down from what my truth is. I still said what I said. Take it or leave it. The insults, okay, that's perfectly fine. I don't feel that way about me. I'm sorry that you do, or you got that impression of me. That wasn't my intention, but that it is what it is. Rather people be intimidated by my strength than anything else. Exactly. So that's what it means, is like you able to walk in rooms and still speak your truth, and not allow people to gaslight you out of what your truth is, or change your mind about how you feel, or change your mind about how you feel about yourself. That's what that means. Okay. It also, a living pillar grounds truth in the field just by being there. Okay. You don't need to explain. You don't need to chase. You don't need to convince. You are transmitting coherence simply by breathing in that space. Okay. So your breath comes steady. Your tone, your breath becomes steady. Okay. And we'll talk about breath in detail in a little second. Your tone becomes anchoring. Your field becomes safe. It does not become soft. It does not become soft. It becomes safe and it becomes true. Okay. So flame fidelity is a choice, but becoming a pillar is the outcome of that choice. Okay. The choice is integrity. The choice is to stand in your truth. The outcome of that choice is you become a living pillar. Okay. So you walk the path long enough without flinching, without mimicking, without abandoning your own tone, your own frequency. Okay. And you become someone that Earth can trust to hold grid points, because like I said before, we are living grid points on Earth. And when we can sing in our tone, meaning that we are at the frequency that we came here to be, we pull everybody else into alignment, right? And everybody, and I'm not supposed to be trying to sing your song. You're not supposed to be trying to sing my song, right? When I'm at the right frequency and vibration, I hold my tone, you hold your tone. And I need you to hold your tone, and that person to hold their tone, and that person to hold their tone. I don't need to do it for you. I need you to do it. Because my only responsibility is this one, right? When you can do that, you become a grid point that Earth can trust, because you become reliable. And Earth can use you in specific ways, because we're living nodal points on Earth's grid point. We help her to heal. A lot of us, she called us and breathed us into existence because she needed us for specific reasons, but we so far away from ourselves that we can't do what we came here to do. Okay. So, also, when you become a living pillar, others lean into your field and they feel safe to remember with you. You know, I think one thing that I provide people is that I'm not judging anybody on shit that they got going on, because I've been a fucking mess in my life, the messiest of the mess. You know, I fell fully into distortion because I was trying to belong, because I wanted to be digestible, because I was fucking tired of fighting the fight by myself. I'm always the one speaking up. I'm always the one having to be the one and like, yeah, no, let's not do that. Like, I'm always have to be that one. And at one point in time, I just was like, fuck it, do whatever the fuck y'all want to do. I don't care no more, you know? But that was me collapsing. That was me being tired and exhausted, right? With the path. So, when I got on the other side of that and I went on my journey of separation, I come back to myself, I made it a point to make sure that people feel safe expressing to me, that people feel safe in my presence, that people don't feel judged by me, because it's not my place to judge you. You know, like I say, we are all the same energy, just being experienced on a different part of the spectrum. Right. And so what you do is an option for me. That's just not the option I chose. And a lot of us learn through contrast, which when I tell y'all about the remembrance path, you'll understand that a little bit better. Okay. So flame fidelity is a devotion to your frequency. It's refusing to betray your tone. It's sovereign inner anchoring, and it comes through practice. Whereas a living pillar, meaning you're going to make mistakes, because if you got to practice it, that means you're going to get it wrong. Okay. So you're going to have those moments where you collapse. You got to create space for that to happen. Okay. So that, but a living pillar is the manifestation of your oversoul through your body. It's the embodiment of the truth infrastructure that you are, the truth that you were meant to hold. Okay. It's in external field coherence, meaning like the outside is in coherence because the inside is in coherence, and it's presence. You know, a lot of times we think that we have to be doing something. No, you don't. The only thing that you have to do is be in energetic alignment with yourself. That is it. You don't have to physically do something. You don't have to perform. You just have to be in energetic alignment with yourself. Okay. So signs that you're becoming a living pillar is that people stabilize just by being near you. You can feel when the space is off before words are spoken. Your silence heals. It heals you. It heals other people. You're increasingly sensitive to mimic frequency, but no longer afraid of it. And what that means is sometimes you can feel when people are off. Like one time I was at like this like listening party or whatever in LA. And this girl came up to me and she was talking to me, and she was basically telling me how she lived in Koreatown. And she was like, yeah, I like it over there because I don't like, you know, being around Black people. Like, and she's Black, by the way. She's like, I don't like being around Black people. I feel like we just too noisy. We always tearing shit up and da da da. And I was like, well, I don't feel that way. I love my people. And I keep going. So when this girl leaves, there's a boy who's at the party who has had a couple conversations with me before. And he comes up to me and he was like, I don't really like how, you know, y'all was talking about Black people. And I said, who is y'all? I never said nothing about anything. And he was like, yes, you said. And I said, no, the hell I didn't. That is what she said. And maybe you didn't realize that's what she said because her back was to you, but that's what she said. I immediately corrected her and said, that's not how I feel, you know? And then so he kept trying to argue with me about it. And I literally stood up and I got assertive and I was like, you're not about to put on me something that did not happen. That's not something I would say. Anybody who know me know I don't play about my people. Everything that I do is for my people. So I don't know what your problem is, but no, I'm not doing this. And I walked away from him. When you see distortion, again, that's that energy of wanting to be right, wanting to argue, and he needed somebody to take it out on. It's misdirected anger. Okay. And if you're watching Love Island, Huda, is doing this, misdirecting your anger towards people because you want people to feel what you feel, you know? And that conversation, he turned it to black men do protect black women. And I said, what the fuck are you talking? I never said nothing about that. I never said nothing about that. And if we don't feel that way, how you gonna tell us how we feel? You know, that conversation was just him feeling some type of way about something and trying to project that onto me. Okay. It's a simple no. All right. So that's what it means to you become increasingly sensitive to mimic energy, meaning you can sense it. You can tell when it's not about you. You know, you can tell when somebody just trying to project something onto you. You can tell when people see your light and they start to attack your light. And it don't even be them. It be them energies on them. They see it and they want to attack it. Okay. You can tell when that's happening. But when you a pillar of light, you're not afraid to stand up. You're not afraid to say anything. You're not going to shake or bend just because somebody feels some type of way. You're not afraid to have the conversation or the confrontation. You know, you don't chase clients. You don't chase lovers. You don't chase teachers. You magnetize everything that's for you towards you. And you become less called to teach and more called to hold space. All right. Meaning like that energy of trying to fix people. Sometimes I can immediately tell if the person is willing to change and if they're not willing to change. If you are not willing to change, there's nothing I'm going to be able to say to you. So what do I do instead is compassion. And compassion is just presence. I just hold space for you to say whatever it is that you got to say, because maybe you need to get it off your chest. But I don't try to fix you or heal you or save you. I don't try to jump in and fix the problem because it's not my problem to fix. Until you are ready to see it for what it is, I'm not going to be able to do anything. Okay? And a lot of times we want to jump in and teach and help and fix. That's not our job. Sometimes you just hold space for them to get it out. Okay? And you don't question your path anymore. You walk in your truth. That's it. That's all. You don't need to doubt anything that's happening. Okay? These two things that we just talked about, flame, fidelity, and living pillar, they are not paths. They are the quality of how you walk your path. They determine the quality of how you walk your path. Okay? They aren't roles. They are vibrational commitments. Vibrational commitments to yourself, to your path, to your journey. And they define how flame bearers carry their power. Either you're going to do it with distortion, collapse, or mimic energy, or you're not. And the goal is to not, which means you got to listen to yourself. You got to stand in your truth. If something ain't sitting right with you, something ain't sitting right with you. You don't have to perform just so people see that you're cool, right? Or that you belong, or whatever, or that you're digestible, or that you're easygoing and nonchalant. I think that's the worst thing that happened to us, is thinking that we have to be nonchalant. We got to be cool as a cucumber. No, we don't have to be those things. And I think those things are so inauthentic, because you shouldn't be trying to be nonchalant when you're not fucking nonchalant, because then it just pushes you out of alignment, pushes you deeper into pain and suffering. And soon enough, you're not even going to recognize yourself, because that's not, you're trying to be something that you're not. You're performing. You have a mask on that does not belong to you. Okay. So those are the two definitions I need you to understand, because that is the goal. Okay. That is how you walk. It feels miserable every time. Exactly. Because it's not you. You are choosing somebody else's path over your own. You're choosing somebody else's truth over your own. And you wearing it like a costume, when underneath that's not you. Okay. So now that we talked about those two things, right? Flame fidelity is integrity. Okay. And how you walk the path. The living pillar is the goal. That's the goal that we're moving towards. Okay. And now we're going to talk about the full soul's journey. And this is a sacred descent and return through memory, through mimic, through mastery, and mission. Okay. This is the oversoul arc through time, body, illusion, grief, and remembrance, because grief is sacred and so is rage. Those are sacred things. Okay. So phase 0, before you get here, is the pre-descent. It's the seeding of intention, right? So what this phase is basically saying, I choose to enter the veil for the sake of remembering, meaning that the goal for us was always to remember who we were and remember what path we chose. It was not to become anything. It was to remember. Okay. So before embodiment, your soul and oversoul together chose this earth's journey. Okay. This was not random. You carried flame lineage, which we talked about before. You carry a soul tone, meaning the tone you came here to play. You carried a mission memory. You carried karmic refinement and a set of thresholds you'd awaken through. And we're going to talk about three main thresholds that people awaken through. Okay. But you had a set of thresholds that you were meant to awaken through. Okay. Meaning that when you awaken, it was divine timing. It happened when it was supposed to happen. Okay. This process can be delayed though, by you or by other people. Okay. Now this phase, the pre-descent, the seeding of intention, right? This is the phase of peace. It's luminous, it's sovereign. And this is when your scroll is sealed, meaning that whatever the mission is sealed at this phase because you're about to go through the veil of forgottenness. Okay. And everything kind of happens in divine timing, meaning you gain access to memories in divine timing. But you've always been the scroll that you came to be. You know, the memory that you came to share, the perspective that you've always been, you've had the truth. It's just been veiled and sealed inside of you before you even got here. Okay. Now, phase one is the descent into density. And this is where the veil falls. Okay. Basically, at this phase, is saying, I forget what I am to remember who I am. Okay. I don't know if I think I've talked to y'all about the choice, right? That happens in the third density, which is service to self or service to other people, right? Service to self means that you choose not to remember. You fall into distortion, you fall into mimic energy, you collapse completely in the field, and you are a person who's about self. It takes 90% for you to polarize in that direction, meaning extreme narcissism, hatred, greed, power, hungry, all of those things, right? That's the service to others. With that, they skip the heart space because they don't find the heart to be useful, which means they dim in their soul, right? Because your soul is connected to the heart energy. Okay. So they're dimming their soul and they're choosing to further separate from themselves. Okay. Service to other people means that you got to be in balance. It means you only need to be 51% positive, 49% negative. Okay. It means that you need to be about other people 51%, 49% about yourself. That's not a 90-10. That's not an 80-20. That means 49% of the time you need to be about you. The other 51%, you can be about other people. But there needs to be a balance. And I think that's where we be having it fucked up. And as we do that, as we start to prioritize ourselves 49% and figure out the life that we want to live, and through that, we also help other people, that is when we start to remember who we actually were. We start to move back towards ourselves. We move through empathy, right? And that happens through the chakra system. That happens through the chakra system. It's the different densities of consciousness, right? Because the first density is the root chakra, which is about the foundation, where you financially, mentally, physically taken care of. The second is the sacral, which is about your emotional relationships. It's about consent. It's about building vulnerable relationships with other people. The third density, where you make the choice, is about managing your mind and regulating your emotions. It's about power. It's about willpower. It's about directing yourself. Are you going to continue to be in your lower chakras, or are you going to move through your heart space through forgiveness, compassion, grief release, into setting healthy boundaries, speaking up for yourself, speaking your truth, trusting your intuition, feeling connected to everything, realizing that you are everything, right? Or are you going to stay in those lower chakras and only be about yourself and the things that you need: money, sex, and power? Those are the main three things. Okay. So when I say the choice, right, and when I say remembering who you are, it happens through the chakra system. I want to be clear about that. Okay. Now, you forget who you are you forget what you are to remember who you are. Okay. The whole purpose of this earth experience is to make that choice. And that choice is, am I really who I say I am? Right? So you forget completely who you are. And through your life experiences, you get to decide who you actually are. right? But the issue with that is that it wasn't supposed to be a distorted environment that we did that in. We were supposed to remember what the mission was. We didn't remember what the mission was. So now we fall into this veil of forgottenness or this amnesia when we enter into the earth plane and we don't remember. So we really are making an authentic choice of who we want to be on a soul level. Are you going to go with your soul or are you going to go against it? That's really the choice. Okay. So this is where this phase of descent into density, where the veil, where you forget what you are to remember who you are. This is where you enter the womb of your parent. Okay. And when you enter that womb, you are DNA encoded. Okay. And you also enter into Earth's collective amnesia field where you forget. Right. And you immediately begin to absorb ancestral trauma. That happens in the womb. Mimic programming. That happens in the womb. Inherited pain cycles. Social rules over soul wisdom. All of that happens in the womb. Okay. And this isn't punishment, but it's separation by design, right? Because we came into polarity consciousness, and polarity consciousness is where everything is separated. The mind and the intuition, the mind and the soul are not separate, but because we're in a consciousness that deems them to be separate, we see everything as black, white, hot, cold, red, blue, light, dark, because we see it as one truth being existing instead of multiple truths existing at once, when really there's a spectrum between light and dark, right? There's gray in the middle, and there's everything in between light and gray and dark, so it's a spectrum, but we see it because of the consciousness that we're at through separation. Well, so separation is really contrast. It allows you to compare. It allows you to judge other people, to see other people as separate as you, right? To say, yeah, I don't want that choice, right? It allows you to see other people as competition, right? Because you feel separate from them. That is how we learn. That is how we make a decision, okay? Through contrast. But we lost the understanding of what separation actually was. And so we get stuck in that. Okay. It allows for contrast, which catalyzes the choice. Okay. Meaning that you compare yourself to other people and either you want to be like them or you don't want to be like them. If it ends up being somebody who is moving you away from yourself, you'll hit a barrier, and that barrier is called pain and suffering. That barrier is called pain and suffering. And a lot of people wait until they Saturn return, which is the barrier of this galaxy, and to do something about it. But you hit this barrier, and that barrier is saying, this choice isn't working. You need to pick another choice. The choice you picked isn't working for you. It's making you miserable. You have to pick another choice. And pain and suffering stays until you pick another choice. Pain is a catalyst to change. It's telling you you're going too far in the wrong direction, and this is about as far as I want you to go. If you don't make another choice, we're going to stay here. Okay? So after phase 1, you enter the womb, right? And then also you enter into this reality, because phase 1 is through you entering the womb all the way up into 7. Remember, I said those are the developmental stages where you are pure love energy. You came here and you're whole, right? You don't have anything affecting you because you haven't interacted with the world enough, right? Because we have to have experiences to have perspective, right? And so we are very, very true to ourselves in those first 7 years of our life, okay? But then something happens in our developmental years, which causes a fracture, or which causes it causes our ego to develop. And our ego is basically the part of us that's trying to help us to survive, right? And so it usually happens when we start to realize that we're different from other people in that sacral, where we start to build emotional relationships to other people, and we realize that they could hurt us. Okay. So something happens, and then we enter into phase 2, which is between 7 and 24 years old. This is called the mimic phase. And this phase says, I become what I think I need to be to survive. Between 7 and 24. I become what I think I need to be to survive. Okay. And this is when you begin constructing your identity based on family reflections, based on things that you see around you, your parents, your family, cultural expectations, based on what society tells you you should be. Pain avoidance, meaning you're trying to protect yourself from pain, in turn protecting yourself from happiness. And then also seeking validation. You want to be validated. You want to be valued. Because that's another thing that comes with separation is wanting validation, external validation outside of you. You want people to see that you are great and you are valuable and that you are needed. And this can cause you to abandon your gifts. It could cause you to shrink your sensitivity, meaning you stop. Because when you're a kid, you feel everything. You know, them kids randomly walk up to you and be like, Mom, the plant says it doesn't like being by the window. You know, it's like, what the hell is this kid talking about? You start to shrink those gifts and shrink that sensitivity because you feel like it's not valuable to you, right? Because it's not celebrated in this reality. You don't get validated for being sensitive. And in fact, this is the fucking opposite. A lot of times they telling you you're too fucking sensitive, right? And then you absorb false light templates as well. And then you sever connection with your oversoul's voice. You stop listening to that little voice within because you start listening to your parents and society and everybody around you who's telling you how to show up and who you should be. Okay. So this is the era where you start masking, you start performing, and you start trying to survive. Okay. Now it is necessary. This is a necessary part because this is where you start to see the contrast. You need the contrast to figure out who you are. You need to do it wrong sometimes before you can do it right. Okay. That is contrast. Sometimes you don't know until you have the experience yourself. I didn't know that I don't like going to jail until they put me in the motherfucking handcuffs and I was sliding across that back seat. And then I had to talk to my grandparents about it. Devastating at 12 years old. You know, I didn't want to be seen as a bad person. But until that happened to me, I was comfortable doing what I was doing. Because hell, we didn't have food. I was going to go get it. If she couldn't get it, we were going to go get it. It's fucked up. But the system fucked up too. So where we even got to do that? You know? And it sucks that a 12-year-old has to worry about that. Why don't we live in a society that allows us access to resources? Because they're trying to keep us stuck in the contrast. Food grow from the earth. That should be free. But they killed all the only add male trees that don't produce fruit because they pay for it. They want you to buy it. They try to lock you into it. They try to lock you into being against yourself because you're easily manipulated and controlled that way. But I digress. Okay. This stage, this era of going through masking and performing and surviving, that is not failure. Think of it like a cocoon. You are the caterpillar that has entered the cocoon and now you must break free and be the butterfly. Okay. That's phase 2. Then you got phase 3. And this is 24 to 25. This is your very first threshold. And we're going to talk about this in deep detail. I'm just going to give you a brief overview because I need you to understand the trajectory that you are meant to follow. Okay. Phase 3 is where you say, I've built something that does not fit me anymore. I've built something that does not fit me anymore. This is the gate where you first start to wake up. Okay. And it's often catalyzed by some heartbreak, some loss, some grief, some disillusionment, or a spiritual encounter. Okay. This is where your soul whispers to you that there has to be something more than this. All right. And this is the beginning of the path of remembrance. Okay. This is not full awakening. It's just like where the veil cracks and you can start to see light on the other side. And you're like, well, what the fuck is that? You know, if you ever heard the allegory of the cave, it's like the moment where you realize that that's just a shadow, that there's something behind there and you need to go look to see what's behind there. Okay. Next is the path to remembrance, and that's 25 to 33. And this is where you start to reclaim your essence. Okay. This is where you begin to do soul alchemy, shadow work, energy, where you have energy awareness. You realize energy is everything and you might need to learn about energy. You go into sacred silence, meditation. Okay. Dream communication. You start to dream like crazy between 25 and 33. Ancestral release as well. that ancestral grief starts to come up. And then you'll have these mirroring experiences as well. Okay. Meaning like when people mirror you. Now we're going to talk about the different people that you meet along your journey as well, because I leave no rock unturned. Y'all are in good hands. All right. But this is where you begin choosing truth over belonging, sensation over numbness, and coherence over validation. Meaning, this is the moment where you start to lose all your damn friends. This is the moment where you look around and you realize that you was only friend with them because of proximity, because y'all was in the same location. They were just the best person around, you know, and they did what you did. Y'all trauma bonded or whatever the fuck, right? And then when you get 25 to 33, it's just like, yeah, I don't necessarily like you like that. They gone now, period. I don't necessarily like you like that. Hey, Vanessa. I don't necessarily like you like that, right? And you start realizing, for me, I was like, I don't like partying. I don't like being in the club environment. It's too much fucking people in here. Everybody fucking boxed up like fucking sardines. I'm sweating like a fucking hog. Get me out of here. I don't even like that. I'm tired of seeing these same men. I got to go, right? That starts happening between 25 and 33. You start getting into alignment with what you actually like to do. And if you got to lose them, fuck them. They wasn't for you in the first place. That was just who you needed to be with to get you to this stage. And sometimes I think those relationships are beneficial for the simple fact is contrast. Sometimes you look at them and you realize how far you've come. You know, you realize that you kept growing and this person kind of stayed the same, or you look at them and you just like, I am not there anymore. I don't relate to this anymore. And every time I'm around you, I have to come back down. I have to dim myself. And I'm not willing to do that anymore. You know? Me too, Chloe. I would get the fuck on. I will be in the bar or be somewhere and I randomly bolt and people be like, Tadra, where'd you go? Baby, I'm in the wind. I'm in the wind. I don't know why, but I felt the need to go. So I had to leave, and I move when my body tell me to move, you know? So I get it. Okay. But this is the stage where you start to realize that you built a life that you don't necessarily like. And now it's time for you to actually reclaim a life that you do like, which means you got to let some people go. Let them people go. Okay. Phase 5 is oversoul embodiment. And this is around 33 to 36. Okay. And this is where you say, I walk as who I was before I forgot. This is when you start to remember. When you have remembered. Okay. Your oversoul begins fully descending into your body. This changes everything because you speak differently. You feel time starts to dissolve. And y'all, let me tell y'all what's been happening. This is kind of strange because things that have happened literally yesterday feel like they were months ago. I can't even remember what I did last week. And I was asking Spirit about this. And basically what Spirit was saying, you start the time is not linear, right? It's a spiral. And basically as you continue to embody your oversoul, it starts to dissolve, which is really fucking weird. And it's like whenever you need something, instead of going back in time and thinking of the memory or whatever the fuck it is you just tap into the memory, but you don't see it as like linearly. Like it kind of gets lost in when it happened. Like the when doesn't really matter. The memory itself is something that you can tap into, but the when gets convoluted and blurred in a weird fucking way. I don't know how else to fucking say that, but I literally was trying to think of something that I did. I was like, was that last week? And then I look and it's like a month ago. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? It just literally feels like time is dissolving around me. Like time is not linear at all. Like it doesn't make logical sense sometimes. So I hope that makes sense for you. But this is something I literally just asked Spirit about last week because I was confused on why it feels like something that happened a week ago happened a year ago. It's like you can go directly. Yes, Chloe, you go directly to the memory in your mind, but the linear association to it, I don't fucking know how to conceptualize that for y'all, but I just want to tell y'all how I'm experiencing it. It's like the concept of time, like time is just moving way faster than my body can conceptualize it. And where to place some of these events on the timeline just is weird, it's strange, okay? So you feel time kind of dissolve. You lose interest in identity performance, meaning like you don't want to perform for anybody. You just are who you are. You fuck with it. You fuck with it. If you don't, you don't, you know? And then your presence becomes transmission, meaning like sometimes you just being there, it helps to affect everybody around you. Okay. This is not awakening. It's basically inhabiting the scroll. This is where you start to, um, become the flame text. Whatever text is in your scroll, it starts to come to life. Okay. And then you have the flame integration phase, and this is 36 to 42. And this is where you walk as flame and you hold the field. Okay, so you begin to integrate your shadow flame, you reclaim your soul contracts, you protect thresholds for other people, you teach or you guide from presence, meaning like sometimes by you just being there, people watching you, that whole thing. And then you become a mirror for others awakening as well. And this is where power returns. But you no longer are tempted to misuse it because you're not living in distortion. You've kind of traveled through that and you walk the fire and now you carry it with integrity. And then the last stage is completely optional, but it is sacred stewardship. And this happens your mid 40s and beyond. Hold on, y'all. They got me doing these puzzles. This happens mid 40s and beyond because there's another gate at 44, which I didn't talk about all the gates. I only talked about the three main ones. But this is where you become the template, which we talked about the template before, which is your blueprint, your soul's blueprint that you came here with. Okay. So you are no longer performing your mission. You are the mission. Every breath is a scroll. Every silence is a healing. Every interaction is alchemy. Okay. And this is strange too. I was talking to a mentee the other day and like her grandmother came through and she was telling me all these things that she kept asking me, well, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And what's crazy is I've realized that we overcomplicate everything. Her grandmother just kept saying, be present, be still. You just need to sit in stillness. You need to be present with yourself. And so I say that, and it's just like, I feel like that's not the answer you want. And she's like, yeah, but I feel like I'm actually supposed to be doing something. Yes, you're supposed to be sitting still in presence, not trying to actually do anything, but sitting with yourself. When's the last time you did that? Well, I'm not very good at that. That's exactly the thing that you need to get good at, right? Because silence is how we heal. Silence is when we can hear the distortion in your field. Silence is when you can hear if you got attachments and stuff, that shit comes up. While you're sitting in silence, you can see it. You can hear it. You can decipher between what's you and what's the other energies around you. You know, it is that fucking simple. It is that fucking simple. Okay. Every interaction that you have becomes alchemy. And we're going to talk about alchemy today as well. Okay. So this is the phase of planetary grid work, of deep mentorship, of soul family reconnection, meaning the people who are a part of your soul family start to magnetize towards you, and then holding the memory of earth through your being. Okay. And this is the full path. So please understand that this path that you walk before remembrance is not you failing or you being lost or anything like that. It is preparation. It is initiation. It is helping you to make the choice whether you're going to go towards remembrance or you're going to stay where the fuck you are. Okay, the mimic phase is necessary so that your soul can develop contrast, it can develop resilience, it can develop clarity and discernment. It's through that contrast that we get the wisdom that, ooh, I probably shouldn't have did that. I didn't like that I did that. You know, and I think we get stuck in the not being able to forgive ourselves for some of the stuff that we did, you know, or we get stuck in, oh, that makes me a bad person. That makes me a this. It does not. You came here to make mistakes. That's literally what sin is sine waves. You got up, you go up and you go down. You go up and go down and everything. You're never supposed to be perfect. You're supposed to be going through cycles. Okay. But discernment, a lot of the things that you go through that happen through contrast are meant to teach you discernment. Next time you do it better, it's about refinement, right? You have the experience, you look back at the experience, you say, what did I like? That's the stuff you keep. What didn't I like? That's the stuff you change. And then you move on and you don't do anything about what's already done because you can't do anything about what's already done. The shit is already done, right? You only can do something about what is to come, which means that the next time, the things that you didn't like, you change them. That's it. And every single time you do that and you refine yourself and you refine yourself and you continue to grow and evolve into the version that you want to be until you get into a version of yourself that you love, that you're excited to be. And that's it. Okay. So there is no wrong steps, only unawakened flame, only unawakened truth, waiting for the breath of remembrance. Okay. So the path, like I said, is not linear, it spirals so that you can revisit old pain with new eyes, you know? And I often say it spirals upwards, but that's not true. It actually is a spiral inwards. But we move up in density, or in words in density. I don't fucking know. But it's a spiral, okay? And so the reason why it spirals is because if you think about a spiral staircase, you can look straight down and you can see the point that you just came from, and lower and lower and lower and lower, right? So every single time that you go up, you do come back to those same points, and we think that that's failure, right? We think that, oh, why am I back here? I thought I grew from this. You did grow from this. You have different wisdom and a different perspective. Now is the time for you to actually use it so you can reach the next threshold. But a lot of us will go back to that same point and then we make the same mistake, right? We make the same mistake because we think we're in the same place and we're not. So it's important for you to know that. It also helps you to revisit those old stories with a new tone. You in a new frequency. You no longer fit in those environments. You know those times where you hang out with a friend and you say, this is going to be my last time hanging out with them. And then they call you and it's been months and you're like, well, let me try again. And you go back in the environment and you realize, okay, this really is the last time that I'm hanging out with them. Right? You have a new frequency. You hold a new frequency. You're not the same person. And then old timelines, you revisit old timelines with new sovereignty, meaning that you're in control now, okay, which allows you to grieve and it allows you to celebrate. Then it allows you to grieve again because tears are portals. They help you to walk through that next stage. And each time you'll do it with more coherence and less collapse. This is soul mastery. This is how you master your soul. That's oversoul embodiment. That's flame integration. That is the fucking goal. That's it. Did you learn the lesson? Are you able to apply the wisdom? Not worrying about where you are because you always where you're supposed to be. So if it come back around, it was meant to see if you're going to do something different, if you're going to choose coherence or convenience. And there's been a couple times I almost chose convenience because some of them people sometimes be having what I be needing, you know? So it's a couple times I almost chose convenience over coherence. But I didn't go through with it. That was good. I almost did though. I was up on that hill. You know, I was up on that motherfucking hill. I was looking down and I was saying, I mean, YOLO. But what matters is the result. I didn't do it. You know, don't do it. And even if you do it, you can't do nothing about what you done already did. You only can do it differently the next time. That's all I'm saying. You don't have to be perfect. It's not about perfection. It's about refinement. If it's not serving you, if it doesn't make you feel good, you have to do something differently. And even if you take a couple missteps and you do it wrong a couple more times just because it feels good, fine. But eventually you're going to have to get the fuck up and stand up, sister. Let me know if you need me to come hold your hand. Okay? That's it. It's not about perfection, though. I think the perfection is the thing that be having us fucked up, is because we think we got to do everything perfectly. And sometimes that causes us to be stagnant. Because if we think we can't do it perfect, we just don't do shit at all. We just waiting around for something to happen. Right? Or we stuck in confusion because we torn, because we want to do it, but we know it's not good for us. We get in that internal battle. You know what I'm saying? Y'all get me. Okay. So next is the path of remembrance, right? And this is what happens after we have that moment where we get through the trauma and we start to realize, all right, something's got to give, right? So the sequence goes remembrance, embodiment, integration. Okay, that's the path. Remembrance, embodiment, integration. Okay, soul, which is what you came in here as, connection with your oversoul, living as the flame. Okay, that's what that looks like. So remembrance is the soul saying, okay, something ain't right. Embodiment is your oversoul. It's like, okay, now I am in touch with the highest version of myself, the God within. And the integration is now I'm actually doing the work that I came here to do. Because flame is living in your truth. Okay, so the path of remembrance is the first step. And that path of remembrance is saying, I remember who I am. And this is an awakening phase. This is where soul alchemy happens, emotional clearing, grief rites, intuition, reactivation. And also you're being triggered by mirrors or dreams or thresholds. Okay. This is the phase where you start to heal distortion, where you're shedding mimic energy and you're remembering your origin, your essence, and flame lineage. So in this phase, you reclaim your truth and your identity. Your truth and your identity. Okay. The next phase is the phase of embodiment. And this is basically saying, I let who I am live in my body. Oh, this deja vu. And this is from a year ago. She's on the right path. Every time I get on here, I'm having deja vu. But anywho, I let who I am live in my body. Okay. And this is the anchoring phase. This is where you anchor it in. And this is oversoul embodiment, nervous system calibration. This is flame coherence practices. Okay. Where you start to make the appropriate choices for you. This is stillness. This is sacred refusal and voice clearing. And this is building rituals that match your essence. Meaning that spirituality, religion is trying to teach you how to do spirituality through a specific lens. But spirituality is where the real freedom is because spirituality is you using your imagination and your intuition to practice things that feel natural to you and your essence and what you like, right? Everything I do is in rose because I'm the rose frequency. And like my whole life, I've kind of liked the scent of rose. I've liked whatever. So everything that I do is in rose because that's the frequency I hold. You know, it's very specific to me. The rituals I do, very specific to me and how I want them to do them. And I'm very intuitive when I'm doing work, right? Especially when I'm doing energy work in visualization on other people. For some reason, I just know what I'm doing and I'd be doing random shit and it works, right? So spirituality is supposed to be specific to you. There's not supposed to be a fucking recipe that you put online for everybody to follow. It's not supposed to be a path that you take with other people. It's supposed to be very, very individual to you. And it's supposed to be you trusting your intuition, your imagination, and you doing it your fucking way. It's supposed to match your essence, right? And that's the freedom in spirituality. There is no wrong way to do it. Okay. So this is where your soul stops relating, where your soul stops relating. I don't know what I was trying to say there. Your oversoul takes up residence in your field and you become fully your oversoul without distortion. Okay. So you stop looking for things outside of yourself. Okay. This is the phase where you reclaim presence and power. Okay. And then next is flame integration. I walk as the flame. I serve from coherence. And this is the phase of mastery. Okay. This is shadow flame integration. This is threshold protection. This is energy work as oversoul service. This is planetary assignment. This is when your planetary assignment begins and you become a living activation for other people. Okay. So your life, your voice, your space, your frequency becomes the temple for other people. And you move from teacher to template, which is you becoming the blueprint. And so this phase reclaims sacred service and sovereignty. Okay. So the sequence is remembrance, which is I awaken, embodiment, which is I anchor, and integration is I walk it. Whereas the last one that is optional is stewardship, which is I hold the path for other people. Not everybody's going to go the stewardship path, but you still have to know what it is. Okay. Now, there are three main threshold points I want to talk about. The first one is the quarter life threshold, and this is your 25th birthday or your 25th solar return, whatever the hell y'all want to call it. Okay. This is a spiritual inflection point, and it's really, really powerful. And more people should talk about this, but a lot of people don't, right? They skip straight to the 33rd birthday. All right. So, hey, Lisa, this is the point where you have walked 4 seasons, 4 directions, 4 elemental initiations into your adulthood. Okay. So that's why this 25th birthday is so important. Okay. And 4 is a huge number spiritually. Okay. It's the gate of awakening. So it's when the ego begins to crack and the soul starts to speak louder. So you may feel a growing discomfort with what isn't real. Old dreams start dying, new callings start emerging. And this is the first taste of sovereignty. This is deep self-awareness. This is where you start to realize that the life you build is not a life that you actually want, right? This is where you start going from the contrast into remembrance, right? Where you start trying to realize who you are and align yourself with that, okay? Also, this is the first return of the lunar nodes. So around 25, your lunar nodes return to their natal position, okay? And this brings a mini karmic reset, often revealing your soul's true path versus past life patterns, okay? So it's a soft activation compared to your Saturn return, which happens 28 to 30. Saturn return is saying, bitch, you reached your boundary. Just like pain and suffering is saying, bitch, you reached your boundary. So the fuck is Saturn. Saturn is the boundary of this galaxy. Saturn is you reaching up to your crown. Saturn says, girl, do something different, because if you don't, I'm going to turn you every which way but loose now. I'm going to force you to do it. That's what Saturn does. But if you already doing it, you ain't got to get your ponytail dragged. All you do is got to listen, right? So it's a soft activation compared to the Saturn return, but it can change the course of your timeline. It really can. So the themes that kind of come into play with this 25th solar return is that I'm living the path my soul chose. Am I living the path my soul chose, right? That becomes the question. What am I carrying that does not belong to me? Oh, I got my ass tapped by Saturn. Saturn did not play with me, okay? I waited to the very last minute, and that's why I do the work that I do, because I be trying to help y'all not do what I did. I got a thick head. I'm stubborn as hell. Me and Saturn got into a tussle, and it was not cute. She won, though. I'm glad she won. Go ahead, sis. I'll take that L. What am I carrying that's not mine? I'm a Taurus, too. Yeah, we just try to do life our own way. I'm glad I got jumped on. Me too, girl. So what am I carrying that's not mine? What story wants to be written now, right? That's what 25 is asking. Like, what am I doing, right? So that's when your lunar nodes return, right? But it's also when the activation of your heart flame starts. Okay, so in mystical systems like Kabbalah and Sufi and the Rose lineages, age 25 is linked to the initiation of the heart flame, and that's the moment when your inner voice awakens. Okay, you begin remembering who you were before the world told you who to be, right? You feel the pull towards purpose and love and truth and soul alignment. So it's like your higher self knocks on the door and asks, are you ready to see more? Are you ready? Are you ready to go on this journey? Right? It's also the sacred midpoint between youth and mission, meaning that in ancient initiatory systems, because like in esoteric knowledge and occult back in the day, you had to be initiated, right? So 25 was seen as like the end of apprenticeship. And that's when you started the embodiment phase. Okay. So you've gathered enough experience to begin activating your medicine, and you no longer are protected by your youthful ignorance. Okay. Meaning like that was when all bets were off, all games was like, you ain't no more playing at the games, right? It was a rite of passage, whether you consciously walked it or not, right? And also remember too, 25 is the age where your frontal lobe actually fucking develops. Technically, you are not fully developed until you hit 25. Mentally, you're not fully developed until you hit 25, right? That's why you can't rent a car until you're 25. All right. So the real significance of this 25 point is that it's a threshold of remembering. It's not a climax, but it's a doorway. And you may feel uncertain, you may feel tender, raw, or ready for something more because your soul just knows it's time. But you do not have to walk through this threshold. You can choose to stay where you're at. Okay? That's on you. Next, you have the Christ year threshold, and this is age 33. It's one of the most spiritually charged, holy, and transformational ages a soul can experience in this life. Okay, it's not just symbolic, it's coded with the age of mastery, with sacrifice, with resurrection, with mission activation. And that's across many mystical traditions, meaning like they saw this as like the year. Okay, Yahshua, or who people call Jesus, is said to have completed his earthly mission and entered crucifixion or resurrection at 33, which we talked about that in the bloodline episodes or flame lineages episodes. And 33 symbolizes the mastery of the human experience. This is the synthesis of body, heart, mind, and spirit. And it's the age where many souls either fully step into their soul contracts or choose a new path altogether. Okay, so at 33, your soul basically says you've walked the valley, and the valley is trauma into separation, right? Now, are you ready to walk the flame? Okay, so the first 25 is saying you're coming out of that mimic energy into starting to remember, right? And this is you've went through the remembrance stage, and now you're starting to try to embody and walk the flame. Okay, so in numerology, 33 is the master number. It's the number of the master teacher in universal service. That's my life path number, 33. It represents the highest vibration of compassion, of spiritual leadership, of creative birthing, and planetary healing. 33 is about uplifting humanity, not just yourself. And it's soul level calling to move from personal healing into collective impact. Okay, so it's the age of the solar crown activation. So in many mystery schools, 33 is when the solar crown, which is the radiant gold soul memory, fully descends into the body. And this can trigger visions. It can trigger soul mission downloads, kundalini surges, or intense tests. And you may feel a sense of, I can't hide anymore. I remember why I came. The old life is over, even if you don't know what's next for you. Okay, so you complete a sacred cycle of shadow and light integration through the solar and the lunar cycles. Okay, next you have the crossing the threshold of the wounded healer. That's what happens at 33 as well, which means up until 33, many of your experiences revolve around healing your own karmic imprint. But at 33, you're invited to transform your wounds into medicine, and not by bypassing them, meaning like pretending that you have done the work, right? But by offering the wisdom of survival to other people. So you move from self-focus to sacred service. And this is the alchemy of 33, that pain becomes power, and that loss becomes vision, and that your scars become a map for other people. Okay. So many 33 symptoms are major endings. So endings in your relationship, your jobs, and specific parts of your identity dissolving, unexplainable spiritual downloads, visions, or dream visitations. You're filling out of time, meaning like there's kind of like an urgency that comes with this thing. Like you feel like you got to figure it out all right now. You feel like you're out of time. So it feels like your reality is speeding up, or it starts to bend a little bit. Your soulmates or sacred allies actually start showing up for you. And then you have a deep hunger for prayer, for ritual and earth connection, which is something I'm going through right now. I've started anointing myself and sealing myself every morning. I'm doing candle sit downs, anyways. And then sudden rejection of anything that feels false or hollow. Okay. And so the real significance of this 33 point is that your soul is inviting you to embody your divine self fully. And it's a choice point. Do you align with your destiny, or do you cling to what is comfortable? Okay. So the universe will often strip away what is no longer fit for your soul, and it clears the runway for you to take flight. Okay. So that's 33. And then the next one, or the next significant one, what is going on here? Sorry, y'all. I'm having a energy release in my arm. Same, Chris. Welcome to the club. Next is the integration threshold, okay? And this begins around 36, and it marks one of the most powerful inner gates a soul can walk through, okay? It's not just a birthday ship, it's a soul level passage into your mature flame path. Okay. Oh, I'm going through this right now. So is Chris. Okay. And I've been drawn to do rituals and candle work too. Yeah. I've been thinking about doing like a Sunday thing where I get people together and we kind of do energy work and stuff like that together. But I'm doing a lot right now, so we'll see. No promises, but I think I need to start doing more collective work, or getting people together who can do more collective work, because we're stronger together. But that's neither here nor there. Okay. So this is called the gate of the sovereign flame. The 36 gate is called the gate of the sovereign flame. And it begins around 36 and culminates near 42, depending on the soul spiral and the readiness. Okay. This is not a combination of remembrance, but it's embodied actualization of all that you've alchemized before this point. Okay. So it's where your oversoul stops whispering and begins walking through your every word, your choice, your presence. And the reason why it's called the gate of the sovereign flame is because by this point, you've passed the remembrance gate, which is 25. You've walked the 33 gate, which is oversoul descent, and you've experienced the full exposure of shadow and mimic energy. And you've likely in some capacity served other people, even if you weren't fully sure of what your role was in that. Okay. So when you come to this gate, now the flame that was once a spark becomes permanent presence. You're no longer just seeking. You're no longer just a seeker or a teacher or a healer. You become the keeper of your own flame and its impact on the world, right? Which is mature development of your flame. Okay. So what this really means is that your flame solidifies. So you stop needing external confirmation. You stop doubting the reality of your path, and you know who you are in tone, frequency, and soul intent. Your shadow becomes transparent. So you no longer fear your shadow. You faced your own mimic, guilt, past misuse of your power. And now you carry the wisdom with humility, not hiding. Okay. And you serve without leaking. And what that means is the field of service becomes clean, clear, and consistent. You're no longer drained after a session or collapsing after a share. This is something I experience a lot. And your flame field is strong, balanced, and regenerative. Okay. Time dissolves further, which I don't know if I could take time dissolving any further than what it's been dissolving recently. But linear memory becomes dreamlike. You live in spiral time. So knowing when to speak, rest, disappear, or move, and you no longer feel behind, you feel impulse. And then you become flame infrastructure, meaning that you stop trying to fix the world. You realize your presence is anchoring in a new grid. So you're a dream walker, a grid stabilizer, a tone carrier, a field holder. Others feel safe, seen, and stirred in your presence, not because of what you do, but because of what you are. Okay. So this stage is not the end of healing. It's not total perfection. It's not immunity from challenges, and it's not enlightenment. Okay. This is flame fidelity. The reason why I needed to tell you what flame fidelity is because this is when flame fidelity happens at this 36th gate. And you are choosing to remain true when nobody is watching. Okay. So those are the threshold points. Now, the people that you're going to meet on your journey, let's talk about them. And these people can either act as like a catalyst to your spiritual awakening, or maybe they help you to realize something that you did not realize before. What I'm doing right now, maybe they're giving you information that you didn't have access to, whatever the case may be. Okay. So there are going to be people on your spiritual journey that act as a catalyst for your spiritual awakening. They're not just a person, though. They're a sacred archetype crossing your life at exactly the right time, meaning that this was put into your soul contract. Okay. Okay. So the first is the soul catalyst. And the soul catalyst is one who speaks the ignition of deep interchange, one who sparks the ignition of deep interchange. Okay. These are people who you come across who make you start reevaluating yourself, right? And then you have the sacred mirror. These are people who reflect back your true self, even if it's painful, meaning that these are the people who are mirroring you. They're just doing to you what you do to other people. Okay. Then you have gatekeepers. Gatekeepers are people who open the doorways between sleeping and awakening. Okay. You have initiators, and sometimes these are combined into the same person. I just want to be clear. Then you have initiators, and initiators are people who push you into the fire of transformation willingly or unwillingly. Okay. You have sacred disruptors, and those are people whose presence shatters the false structure your soul has outgrown. And then you have a shadow twin. Now, if this is painful, it's a soul who mirrors your deepest unhealed parts to accelerate your growth. This came to me through a situationship. It was painful, but I realized that We just was two people who trauma bonded and didn't like ourselves, you know? So you have destiny key, which is someone who holds the frequency that unlocks your next timeline. You have flame carriers, and these are people who carry the light that reignites your own flame of memory, meaning that they help you to remember things. Because anything that I tell you, if it sparks a revelation in you, I'm not telling you something new. I'm just helping you remember. Okay. That's what this whole series is about, helping people to remember. I'm not telling you something you don't already know. Okay. Do you have a cosmic lover or a sacred wounder? And if this is romantic, this is someone who awakens divine love and deep soul wounds that lead to ultimate healing. Okay. And then you have a threshold guardian, and this is a being placed on your path to test your readiness to step into your true soul path. Okay. So the catalyst is not always kind or easy to deal with. Sometimes the soul who wakes you up comes wrapped in pain, in challenge, in betrayal, in deep love, or great loss. Sometimes you have to lose them. Regardless how they come, they have a higher sacred role in your life. Okay. And they agreed on a soul level before this life to ignite you no matter the cost. And sometimes they are your bestie on the other side. They came here to do a job, so they know exactly what to do to get you there. They know exactly what to do to get under your skin. Okay. Their energy brings this energy that breaks open your heart or your world. This energy that shatters illusion. The illusions that you're ready to leave behind. They crack your ego enough for your true self to rise. And they might love you fiercely, or they might leave you broken open. But either way, you awaken from this. Okay. The person who catalyzes your awakening is a sacred mirror and a soul initiator. Okay. So a sacred mirror is one who reflects back your true self, even if it's painful. And an initiator is one who pushes you into the fire of transformation willingly or unwillingly. Girl, they do hate us. Otherwise, they wouldn't have did it. But not really, not on a soul level. Maybe in this reality, because, our human brain is what gets in the way of that, though. Understand that. Our human brain is trying to conceptualize that. We got to think from the higher perspective, just don't let them get access to you again. Okay. So the person who catalyzes your awakening is a sacred mirror or a soul initiator. They are the flame that burned away the veil. They are the hand that pushed you through the first gate of remembrance. So you may have never walked, you may not walk with them for forever, but you walk forever changed because of them. Okay. So if you still have lingering pain, attachment, or confusion, something that you can say, but what I do is I go into the in-between, which is just like darkness, and there's nothing above me, below me, in front of me, behind me, nothing like that. I see a door appear, and I go and I place my hand on that door, and I say, behind this door is the light of my oversoul. And when I open the door, I see a light shining down that I can't see where it comes from, right? And so I expand it as far as I can to fill the entire room, and I step into the room. This is me being in my light. I call forward whatever person I need to call forward. And I say, thank you for awakening me. I bless your role. I claim my true soul path now fully and freely. I no longer, if it's somebody I don't want to deal with anymore, I see a contract, like a desk full of contracts next to me. I pull up that contract. I say, I forgive you. I release you. I appreciate you. I rip that contract up. I see them walk away, or I'll push light from my eyes through their eyes and see my light coming back to me. And I keep pushing until they disappear. Whatever I feel like doing that day. But that's how I call my power back. That's how I release. Okay. And this helps you to be able to step into your sovereign being. Okay. So let's talk about the steps to reclaiming your path to flame remembrance. Okay. And this is how you reclaim your soul identity. This is you saying, I remember who I truly am. Okay. There are 13 stages of sacred reclaiming. And this is the oversoul woven journey of those who came from flame, fell through mimic, and now rise as guardians of coherence. Okay. These are stages walked by Amara through those of the opal, the silver blue, the rose gold, the deep indigo lineages. And it's not linear. It's not linear. It's not all light, but it is sovereign, it's sacred, and it's soul anchored. Okay. So the first step is the inner split. And this is before remembrance begins. There's a subtle ache that you feel like something is missing. I don't know who I am here. This is the first time that your flame has begun to stir a little bit. Okay. Next, you get the mimic unraveling. And this is you begin to feel repelled by false light, performance, spirituality, distorted teachers, and any system that seeks control over embodiment. I have a visceral reaction to certain things and certain people and certain teachers. And I don't know what that is about. It's just like I can sense when something ain't right, or when something is not truth, or when something is not spiritual. And I told you about that story about me getting a divination and being told that I need to sit on the mat when it came to Ifa and the Orishas. And she had said in the meeting that she couldn't divine on her period. And I immediately was like, that's not for me, because that feels like patriarchy. It's like I can sense distortion immediately. And it's like my body will not allow me to continue to move forward. Okay. So you may feel betrayed, lost, or alone. And this is not regression. This is detox. Okay. So in the mimic unraveling, you kind of go into isolation. You feel like everybody is kind of against you. Sometimes you feel lost, you feel alone, you feel all those things. The third step is the silence womb. And this is the call to sacred withdrawal. Okay. So this is not a escape. This is containment. This is when the oversoul descends deeper and requires the field to be emptied of interference. So you may lose friends, clarity, ambition, but this is a necessary part of this remembrance. Okay. Next, you have the memory fire. And the memory fire is when you begin to dream, sense, feel, and remember fragments. And basically, the fragments are flame temples and sacred oaths and star worlds and crystal bodies and lives before Earth. And this isn't fantasy, it's encoded oversoul data surfacing in symbols. So this for me happened through dreams. I started having dreams that connected one day, like all just connected one day. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is all the same thing. So this happened for me in the dream space. Okay. And then next you have the grief gate. Okay. I feel like a lot of people get stuck here and they stay here, and you're not supposed to stay here. Okay. So as your memory starts to return, so does grief. So does sacred grief. Okay. Grief for what was lost, for how the flame was used, and for how you forgot yourself. And many get stuck here. Like I said, believing grief means that they are broken, but it is a sacred purifier. Grief is a portal. Grief is something you're supposed to walk through. Okay. Then you get the flame reforging. And you begin to reclaim your power, not as performance, but as presence. And this is the phase of ritual. So you start anointing, you start doing candle work, you start doing grid work or grid activation, you start doing voice reclaiming, sacred refusal, anything that is not aligned with you, you just like, no, halt. Flame journaling, you're journaling your experience, and then also having energetic hygiene. And this is when you become a temple of reentry for your oversoul. Okay. And then you have the shadow flame. And this is what's often left out of flame remembrance. Okay, flame remembrance begins, or flame remembrance brings shadow codes to the surface too. And a lot of people don't talk about that. And you remember how your flame was used to control other people, to abandon yourself, to anchor mimic timelines. But this is not an area that you want to be shameful about. Is to redeem the totality, because you're not just light. You are also shadow. You are not just light. Okay. So flame without shadow becomes performance. Shadow without flame becomes collapse. Okay. So you are born to walk the middle path of flame integration. And this is how you integrate. Okay. So next you have the elemental reweaving. And this is where you start to remember how your flame speaks through the elements. Okay. Fire is command, it's clarity, and it's destruction of mimic. It's speaking your truth. Water is memory, emotion, and restoration. Okay. That a lot of that water energy comes through your dreams. Okay. Because dreams, water, same potato, tomato. Okay. But also your emotions. doing things based off of how things make you feel, right? Then you got air, and air is manifestation, it's prayer, it's declaration, it's speaking. It's the breath of life. Okay, using the breath of life, which I'm gonna tell you the importance of breath. I think in the next episode, is it in the next episode? Yeah, in the next episode when I talk about Amara, I'm gonna tell you the importance of breath. Okay, because we don't understand breath at all, but we're gonna get there. Okay. Next, we have earth, and earth is the anchor. It's the grid work. It's the bodily knowing. Okay. And then aether is the oversoul tone. It's the crystalline light. So this is where energy work deepens and you stop channeling and you start co-creating with the environment. Next, you have the dream gate, and this is your dream body awakening fully, and you begin receiving flame scrolls. You begin receiving dream visions, prophetic codes, memory echoes. Okay, so you may be pulled into old timelines. You may rework karmic ties or return to flame temples at night. This phase must be guarded, though. You need to shield before you go to sleep. You need to record your dreams and revoke any mimic energy. Next, you have the temple flame. And a temple flame is when you realize your life is the flame temple. So your work, your home, your body, your altar, your voice, it all becomes sacred space. So this is where your students start to arrive, where your guardians show up, where you begin to teach what you once had to fight for. Okay. And this is not the end. This is the beginning of public remembrance. And then you get the oversoul embodiment. And this is you're no longer accessing flame codes from above you. You walk as the oversoul, so it's coming from within you. There is no separation. The oversoul is you, okay? In this physical incarnation, you embody the oversoul. This is the moment when others feel you before you even speak. This is where your words change people, your silence rewires rooms, and your frequency is prayer. Okay? The planetary assignment is next. And this is where you're called into your real mission. This is flame lineage readings. This is earth grid temple work. This is dream walker mentorship. This is memory vault restoration. This is flame codex teaching, sacred contract releasing, and soul reconnection for others. And this is the phase of conscious service when you no longer hide your light or overexploit it either. And then the last step is the flame guardian path. You become a protector of others' flames. You shield students. You hold space for others' awakening. You walk with living integrity. You don't mimic. You don't false flame, and you do not distort. Your life becomes the scroll. Your breath becomes the sigil. Your presence becomes the invocation. And you no longer are remembering. You are the remembrance. Okay, so a quick synopsis, if I could condense these into steps in the path of remembrance. First, your soul fractures, you forget, and there's mimic entanglement. Then there's a catalyst and an awakening, which is grief, triggers, soul mirrors. Then there's soul retrieval, where you start to heal, you do dream recall, your identity comes back. Then there's gift reclamation, where you have intuition, vision, voice. And then there's oversoul descent, which is coherence begins, silence returns. Okay, this path heals distortion and reclaims soul memory. It ends with you beginning to walk with your oversoul consistently. Okay, so what you kind of need to know is that this path doesn't remove pain. It teaches you how to hold it in light. You don't complete it. You spiral through deeper rings over time. Okay, you may walk alone for years, not because you're lost, but because you are too sovereign to fake belonging. Your tears are a form of flame alchemy, which we're going to talk about flame alchemy in just a second. And they carry unspoken remembrance. Every time you resist your power to seem relatable, you delay the awakening of other people, because some of us are here to wake up other people. And what you also need to understand is your oversoul never leaves you. Okay, you just stop vibrating at the frequency that could hear it, but it's always been there. Okay, so there's 7 eternal truths that never change, no matter what stage you are in this journey. And it's that the journey is not upwards, it's inwards. You're not climbing to a higher self. You're clearing the mimic layers between you and what's already here. You're not becoming flame. You're remembering where you buried it at inside of yourself. Okay, what you feel is not disruption, it is initiation. So the grief, the fatigue, the doubt, the detachment, it's not you breaking, it's mimic control unraveling from the nervous system. Okay, so your nervous system has to kind of rewire itself. So you have to trust the friction. Okay, because it's the rub between false frequency and true flame. The other thing you have to understand is you don't heal the past, you integrate the gift it was guarding. Okay, so every wound you resist has a frequency hidden inside of it. Let me say that again. Every wound you resist has a frequency hidden inside of it. The pain is not the truth. The pain is the protector of the truth. Remember, I said that Amara chose the lines that she chose because they were steeped in trauma and they were steeped in pain. And you can hide things in pain. It's the vehicle that you hide things in. So when I say tears or portals, it helps you to walk through, it helps you to gain access to the codes. Okay, so your work is not just to release the pain, it is to alchemize the codes beneath the pain, which we're going to talk about alchemy in just a second. So you have to feel the pain. You cannot be escaped. You cannot be afraid of pain. Pain is a catalyst to change. Pain is also a vehicle that holds the codes that you need access to. It's a key to something you need to open. Okay. Your voice is a flame tool. It's not just sound. So the moment you begin speaking from oversoul tone, not mimic language, not spiritual performance, you cut cords, you call memory, you activate other people. So speak like every word is a permission slip for someone else's soul to remember. Next, you have the timeline you desire is not ahead of you. It is collapsing into you. You're not going, it's collapsing into you. Okay? So you're not becoming your oversoul. You're creating a field of coherence strong enough for your oversoul to walk in it, which means you need to be able to hold enough light. You need to become more crystalline and less dense. And you're not here to be understood. You are here to be coherent. So most of the mimic grid runs on recognition, on validation, on agreements. You dissolve that grid by walking as flame, even when no one reflects it back. You have to hold your truth, even when nobody is reflecting it back. So you don't need to be understood. You need to be true to yourself. And the last eternal truth is your sovereignty doesn't separate you. It frees others. Every time you choose truth over performance, silence over proving, truth over comfort, you create a template of freedom for every soul still choosing captivity. You create a path for them. Okay? So how do you get there? You speak your truth from your heart, from your oversoul. Even when other people want you to be digestible, you say what the fuck you got to say. You stop softening your gifts to seem relatable to other people. If you're a powerful ass bitch, be a powerful ass bitch. And I mean that as a word of endearment. Okay? You trust that those meant to find you will resonate. Not because you explain, but because you vibrate. And you're no longer here to translate yourself. You're here to hold your tone steady enough for others to tune into it. But also, you need more space in your body. So you need to move. You need to stretch. You need to dance. You need to walk in silence. Let the new flame architecture settle into your nervous system. So you have to move your body because movement heats you up. And it creates space for more light. Okay? You need to say yes, fewer. Fewer yes responses to things that cost you your energy. So even small leaks in your field dilute your power. You have to choose to be clean and not be convenient, which means you're going to have to disappoint people. You're going to have to say no if it is not aligned. If you do not want to do it, don't do it just because somebody is asking you, just because you've been told to respect your elders, because you've been told if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. You cannot soften. You have to only say yes to what is truly aligned. Everything else has to be a no. Treat your yes as sacred because it is. Then you need to speak as oversoul. So no over-explaining, no warning, no softening, just transmitting. And The last one, which I think is important, you have to let other people see you mid shift. You do not need to wait until you're fully polished. You do not need to wait until you're perfect or digestible or whatever the fuck. A lot of us don't want people to see us in the in between. A lot of us don't want people to see us in the vulnerable state. But presence is your offering. All you do is have to show up for yourself and other people. I built my entire platform on me healing in real time and struggling. And I was a person who, like I said, I kept my nails done, my hair done. I got my eyebrows done every 2 weeks. I got my lashes done every 2 weeks. I literally had to fall the fuck apart, and I let people see me in that stage of me falling apart. And I think that was an important part of my journey for myself, because I have a fear of being perceived by other people. But I also think it was an important part in other people's journey as well, because they realize you don't have to be perfect to post the content or the thing that you have to say. You don't have to be perfect. I was getting on the internet looking crazy. I look back at some of them videos and was like, now, sister girl, what was going on? But I was trying to survive. So you got to let people see you in the middle point. You don't have to have it all together to start speaking. Okay. Next is the path of sovereignty. So we just talked about the path of remembrance. That's the water path. Now we're going to talk about the path of sovereigns, which is the fire path. Okay. These two need to be in alignment. Okay. So the sovereignty path anchors in your oversoul authority. So this is you saying, I stand in my own flame, unshakable, unowned, unapologetic. Okay. This begins after oversoul embodiment. So when memory alone is not enough, now the soul asks, can I hold my own tone, even in chaos, power of the unknown? Okay. So the path of remembrance comes first, and then the path of sovereignty comes next. The reason why I'm telling y'all this is because the more you know, the more you know. When you know better, you can do better. If you are at a place in this path and you need to know what the next step is, you can always come back to this video. You can always rewatch this. Okay. So you know what's next. So you know what you have to do. Okay. So the full path of sovereignty is 7 rings of flame mastery. And these stages are walked after remembrance. So they form the architecture of your flame field, so your truth can't be co-opted or collapsed or diluted. Okay. So the first one is the ring of sacred refusal. And this is you saying, I no longer consent to mimic, distortion, or energetic theft. And this is not rebellion, it's energetic clarity. So you revoke past contracts and you clean your field with words, with breath, with will. Okay. You claim sovereignty over your field. And this activates the first flame seal. The first seal. This activates the first seal. Okay. Then you got the ring of self-authority. And this is you saying, I no longer ask for permission to speak what I know. Okay. You stop outsourcing your knowing to teachers and systems or validation. And you trust the tone of your oversoul above the opinions of other people. This is you saying, I trust myself more than I trust other people. Okay. This is trusting yourself. This is the death of people pleasing. It may be lonely, but this is a holy part of the journey. The self-authority. Then you have the ring of flame coherence. And this is you saying, I walk the same in silence, invisibility, and shadow in service. Okay. This is when you live the same flame, whether you're seen or you're not seen, meaning the same truth. You don't shape or bend or anything. You are your true self. There's no performance left for you to do. Okay. And this is where your presence begins to shift rooms, and you begin to stabilize fields and unlock other people when you can live in your truth, regardless of how many people are against you. I can tell you how many times before I've done some of these sessions, especially this session on Atlantis, where I was just like, people are going to think that I'm fucking crazy. And I've done it anyways. I do. A lot of times in life, you're going to have to do it scared. You're going to have to do it anyways, but you're going to have to do it scared. Okay. I was really, really scared to put out this series because I'm like, people are going to think I'm off my fucking rocker. Them people with them white jackets and them needles is going to come find me. Right. But I know it's my truth because I have visions and I have memories of Atlantis. So I know it existed. I know what it looks like. I know what its buildings look like. I know what its crystal rooms look like. I was terrified of saying this because I thought I was going to attract the wrong attention. But you know what I did? I claimed my authority. I put protection over my work. Only people who are truly aligned and who are ready to remember, those are the people who could find me. And I trust in that. I trust in my oversoul light enough to trust in that. I don't need everybody to find me. I only need the people who are ready, the people who need to hear my message to find me. That is it. That is all. I don't need fame. I don't need popularity. I don't need any of that. I only need the people who are struggling on their journey to find me, because I know what that's like. And I've been there, and we need a path, and we have not been told anything on spirituality. So even if you're scared, do that shit anyways. And every time I make a post, every time I do this, I gain more and more and more confidence in myself. But it doesn't mean that the emotions just go away. They don't. But they're meant to pass through you. They're not meant to build up residence in you. And that's the difference. They are going to still be there. They are meant to pass through you, though. Energy and motion. They're not meant for you to cling on to. And that's where we get fucked up, is we cling on to them. We attach them to memories. And we're triggered by them because we don't want to feel that thing again. We don't want to live that thing again. They're meant to pass through you. Okay? So next is flame coherence. And this is you saying, oh, we already did that one. Next is the ring of temple stewardship. Okay? So this is you saying, my body, my voice, my home, my offerings are sacred infrastructure. So you no longer see your life as separate from your mission. Your home becomes your temple. Your work becomes your activation, and your words become flame keys. Okay? You attract those who are meant to awaken through your field. Okay? Not marketing. Okay? Next, you have the ring of flame boundaries. All right? And this is when you decide what enters your space, your energy, your time, and your tone. This is when your energetic hygiene becomes sovereign. So there's no more bypassing, no more leaking, no fear of being too much. Okay? This is where you guard what is holy, and it's not from fear, but from frequency clarity. You understand how important it is for you to be clear. And then you have the ring of sacred power. And this is where you say, I use my gifts with precision, with humility and devotion. You no longer overgive or undervalue your own brilliance. Downplay your own brilliance, right? You wield your intuition, your voice, your sight with discipline and grace. So you stop collapsing when others project onto you. You simply stand in your field, which is something I talked to you about earlier in this episode, right? Regardless of the projections, you know who you are. And your truth is more important than other people's truth of you. Okay? And then the last is the ring of pillarhood. And this is you saying, I walk as oversoul architecture of earth. And this is where the journey becomes embodiment. You're not doing spiritual work. You are the scroll. You're no longer affected by mimic timelines because your flame is sovereign infrastructure. And let me speak on this real quick, okay? Barely. I've gotten a lot of people reaching out to me about what's happening with ICE, right? When you get to a place of your journey, when you start to be the living pillar, you can tell what's propaganda and what's not propaganda. Do I think that protests are happening? Absolutely. Do I think riots are happening? Absolutely not. I think that they have held those people after curfew on purpose so that they could have a paper trail of it being a riot. I think a lot of the things that we see in the media of them throwing the bricks and stuff onto cop cars, that's propaganda. Those are their own people. When you start to hold as the living pillar, you can see straight through the distortion and straight through to the lie. And they always going to give you a little bit of the truth and a little bit of a lie. I don't think everything that we've been told is the full truth. Okay? And so when you're no longer affected by that, because what you got to understand is, and I explained this to y'all last time when I talked about the timeline split, right? We share the same space with that energy, regardless of if you are tapped in with it or not. If you feed into that energy, you are choosing that timeline. And that's why social media was an important part. And that's why they needed social media. And that's why social media is now owned by who it's owned by, because they could leverage it. They could use it. They could use it as a media outlet to regain your attention and your focus. And they need to do that because they pull you back into those timelines. So understand that just because you see it don't mean that that's the frequency that you vibrating at. Just because you see it don't mean that you own that timeline. But the people who are responding to it, and I talked to y'all, I did a video earlier this week about attachments. Go watch that video, because I talk about how sometimes they'll attach emotional feeders through people, through public outrage, through online outrage. It's a way for them to attach attachments to you. Exactly. Be a viewer, not a participant. Be an observer, not a fixer. Be a witness, not an absorber. You do not have to absorb everything that you witness, because some of it is part of a false timeline that you can see into, but it does not belong to the timeline that you're on. Yes, that movie Straw, he does a lot with Black trauma, because it loops those emotional feeders in your direction, because you can resonate with it, because it is truth. It is truth. But it triggers people. It triggers people in the wrong way. And it allows this energy to attach to you. I did it. The last video that I posted on all of my social media platforms was about the attachments. Go watch it, because I explained to y'all every single attachment that can attach to your field. You, in this episode, I'm going to tell y'all, I told y'all the people that y'all come in contact with that, spark your awakening, but you also need to know the shadow side too. Go watch that video, because that is the truth. You do not need to respond and react to everything. If you are a living pillar, you are holding the light regardless of what is happening around you. Okay? All right. So you're no longer affected by mimic timelines, because your flame is sovereign infrastructure. Okay? So how do you know if you entered this path? You no longer need feedback to trust your knowing. You feel friction when your flame is diluted, even subtly. You attract deeper students, mirrors, or challenges. Your life begins restructuring itself around truth, not convenience. Silence becomes a teacher, not punishment. Silence is the best thing that you could do for yourself. Silence is sacred. You have to cut the distractions out for a moment sometimes. Once a week, choose a day and just silence. I'm telling you, it does so much for you. Your service feels more like a transmission than a performance. Okay. So the path of remembrance is you healing and gaining your memory back. And it ends with oversoul embodiment. The path of sovereignty is flame mastery and coherence, and ends with you becoming a living pillar. Okay. So let's talk about the last step, because we talked about remembrance. We talked about embodiment, right? Now we're going to talk about flame integration. And this is the last step. So as we talk about flame integration, first I need to explain to y'all what soul and flame alchemy are. Okay. And I know this is a longer episode. Just bear with me. Okay. Because I think this sets the tone for everything else that we're about to see. And you'll understand when I get to talking about Amara again, why she did the things that she did, because she is the embodiment of all these things that we came here to be. Okay. So soul alchemy is the process of transforming your wounds, your fears, and unconscious patterns into wisdom, power, and purpose. Usually when we hear about alchemy, we think about the ancient beings being able to turn lead into gold, or Jesus turning water into wine, right? That is alchemy. But true soul alchemists are able to turn pain into medicine. Okay. And what I think about when I think about that is the singers, the sad girl songs, right? I've always loved sad girl songs, but there's a reason why I always love sad girl songs, because those women are alchemizing their pain into something beautiful. They found a release for it. Poetry, right? Those are people who are writing from their heart. And when you write from your heart, it resonates with so many people because they felt that it's built in truth. And we can sense truth in our bones. Okay, they're putting words to the pain, not only for themselves, but for other people who can use that for medicine for their own wounds. You know, also, it's turning your trauma into your gifts. When I first started reading energy, I could only read emotional energy because I had been through so much and I had felt it before in my lifetime. So when I would be reading this energy, I would basically be able to give an example based off of what I had experienced in life. And every single time it was spot on. And it was because I know what made me feel that energy before. So when I feel the energy, it reminds me of something that I've been through. And I'm able to convey that back to other people. And it's always spot on. Okay, so that's what I mean by turning your trauma into your gifts. Okay, but also sharing the wisdom you gain from your trauma. Storytelling. Storytelling is a way to alchemize your energy. So the reason why they try to make us keep family secrets is because we cannot alchemize the energy. It shuts down our sacred channel, which is throat, heart, womb. They work together. So if you have to keep it a secret, you cannot speak your truth. You cannot alchemize your trauma. So you're required to keep it on the inside, and energy that wants to be released is going to come up hell and high water. Whether it's through your tears and your pain and your turmoil, or you shouting it from the mountaintops. Okay? Or it's going to manifest into dis-ease. And now you got womb cancer, throat cancer. Right? Because that's what happens. You got kidney issues because you got an anger problem. Right? You got thyroid cancer because you don't know how to speak up for yourself. You got stomach issues because you're having a hard time digesting life. It's going to find a way to be expressed if you do not alchemize it. Okay? So when you storytell and when you speak about the things you've been through, you help other people who have been through that same thing. Okay? And then finally, you're able to turn your shadow into light. You're not being afraid to share the negative parts of yourself because you own them. They're a part of your journey. I had a conversation with my mama yesterday, and I was so mad at sis because I went through something when I was 22 or 23, right? And I felt a lot of shame for how I reacted to the situation. Yesterday, we on the phone, and she tells me she did the same exact thing that I did. And she never told me that she experienced that. And it would have just helped to just have confirmation and like somebody to resonate with, like, you know what, I did that fucked up shit too. It's just a part of life. You gotta grow, you gotta move on from it. But she explained to me the reason why she had never talked about it is because she felt a lot of shame for it. And I'm like, yeah, I get that, but we could have went through that together. Sis, you left me out in the middle of the motherfucking ocean without a raft. You could have fucking told me something. Like at least I wouldn't have felt like, okay, a horrible person. Like if, So what I'm saying is, don't be afraid to share the negative stuff about you too, because there are people out there who are hiding the same shit that you hiding, who taking to the grave the same shit you taking to the grave. Sometimes we just need to feel validated and confirmed by other people. Okay. So don't just tell the positive side, also tell the other side so that you can integrate it and you can own it. And it's your truth. Your truth is your truth, regardless of if you tell people or not, it is your truth. Okay. And if you bury it, it's going to come out in different ways. So alchemy is kind of the opposite of spiritual bypassing. And if you don't know what spiritual bypassing is, it's basically when people speak the language, when they have the look of spirituality, when they put on the mask of spirituality, but they have not done the actual fucking work. A lot of y'all therapists have spiritual bypassed. And that's why they can't really help y'all, because they ain't been through the healing themselves. The best teachers are those who have done the fucking work. And a lot of them is too busy trying to fix other people, and they've never turned that mirror on themselves. The Olivia Popes of the world, right? Okay. So they know the language. They know exactly how it looks, but they haven't actually transmuted the darkness into something sacred. Okay. So the key elements of soul alchemy is going to be the lead in this example is going to be your shadow, your wound, your ego. Okay. And this is where it all starts. It's the part of you that has been rejected, has been suppressed, that feels shame around something. Okay. Your triggers, your traumas, your false mask. Okay. Now in alchemy, lead is heavy and dense and dark, but it's full of potential. So your abandonment wounds become deep compassion and holding for other people. Why? Because you've been there. Your rage becomes boundaries and divine fire, right? Because anger is the part of you that wants to protect you. So you need boundaries because somebody has disrespected something, right? Your shame becomes humility and authentic leadership. Hey, she be loving. Your shame becomes humility. You become humble because of it. You realize you're not exempt. There is no, it could never be me. Not in healing, because it could be you. Absolutely could be you. You know? So that's the lead. The lead is your shadow, your wound, your ego. The crucible is the sacred container for transformation. You cannot alchemize raw emotion without a container. This is going to be your ritual, your body, your spiritual practice. So the crucible is where you feel it, how you hold it, and how you sit with it without running. Okay? So that could be shadow journaling about it. It could be therapy. It could be your altar space, sitting there talking to your ancestors. It could be a trusted circle of friends. It could be mirror work with your ancestors. But you need a place to put it. It could be writing a song. It could be poetry. It could be writing a book. You need a container to put it in. Okay? Next, you have the flame, and that's presence, love, and spirit. You have to sit with it. You cannot run from it. You have to be present with it, and you have to feel it. I'm from Nap. Oh, what's up? Who is that? Who's from Nap? I'm from Nap. So that's the divine spark that fuels transformation. This could be source, your higher self, your soul's remembrance. Oh, Terry. Okay, what's up, Terry? Without the flame, you just sit in pain. Okay. With it, you can transmute it. Oh, okay, I got you. With the flame, you can transmute the energy. So the flame burns away illusions and lies, and it reveals the sacred truth that is underneath the pain. Okay, remember I said pain is a container for what's hidden. You need to feel the pain. And then the last part is the gold, is your soul gifts, your power, your purpose, what you reclaim after you do the work. That's the real you. That's what you reclaim after you do the fucking work, is the real you. Okay. So the medicine you came to carry into earth, this is the integration phase, when you no longer just understand your shadow, you live your truth that it was guarding. Okay. Signs you have the gold is inner peace, where there used to be pain, clarity of purpose, a strong yes and no compass, meaning you only saying yes to what actually is aligned with you. Power that feels sacred and not performative. And you can hold others in their darkness without being pulled under with them. You can hold space for them, presence for them. Compassion doesn't mean you have to do anything. Sometimes you're just holding space for people, right? You don't get pulled in. You don't start absorbing it. You have good energetic boundaries, okay? So soul alchemy is not healing. It is remembering. It is how you remember, okay? It's not about you becoming something new. It's about you remembering who you were before the world told you to forget, before the world told you how to show up. Okay. It's the return to your divine code, your original fire, and your ancestral royalty. Okay. That is soul alchemy. Now, soul alchemy and flame alchemy are different. Now, they work in conjunction with each other, but they are different. Flame alchemy, because soul is water, flame is fire. Okay. So I'm giving you both sides of it, because you are fire and water. You are both things, and everything in between, which is air, earth, aether, which surrounds it all. Okay. So we said soul alchemy is the water path, how you alchemize the water path, the remembrance path. Flame alchemy is the sovereignty path. Okay. So like I said, these two work together. They're intertwined like breath and heartbeat. Okay. There are two radiant paths of transformation, each with its own tone, its purpose, its depth. Flame alchemy is the path of transmuting distortion into presence. Okay, it's the fire of purification, of initiation, and reclamation of power. So the core essence of flame alchemy is that I burn through what is not mine to carry. I restore what was stolen. I walk as flame. And it focuses on you transmuting mimic frequency, you activating flame lineages, which is opal, rose gold, indigo, emeralds, any of those. You reclaiming spiritual sovereignty, you rewiring shadow flame into coherent flame, you holding presence in high intensity energetic fields, and you protecting thresholds in bodies, temples, grids, and teachings. Flame alchemy is about command, it's about clarity, it's about truth. Okay, it's about edge walking, it's about temple codes and power of purity, and it serves flame bearers, protectors, guardians, high priestess, grid anchors, initiators. Okay. Whereas soul alchemy is the path of healing, remembering, and integrating fragmented aspects of itself, it is the water of wholeness, of dream reclamation, of heart reweaving. Its essence is to remember who you truly are. I retrieve the parts of me that were lost. I become whole again. That focuses on retrieving soul fragments from trauma, healing karmic intertanglements, reuniting your inner child, your past lives, your ancestral gifts, restoring dream visions and oversoul communication. Feel what has been left unfelt. Listening to the water body's memory. Soul alchemy is about softness, feeling, forgiveness, trust, depth over speed, water codes. And it serves the dreamers, the seers, the healers, the empaths, the memory weavers, and the path restorers. They work together because they yin and yang, fire and water, breath and blood. We often move between them. When in grief, stillness, or in dream, we're in soul alchemy. When in boundaries, powers, or teaching, we're in flame alchemy. Okay, so soul alchemy heals the capacity for you to carry the flame, whereas flame alchemy purifies your field so that you can hear your soul. Okay, so flame integration itself is more than just soul and flame alchemy. It's the result of those two paths, but also the embodiment of oversoul coherence. Okay, so the last thing we're going to talk about is the pillar of coherence. So flame integration is soul alchemy, flame alchemy. Soul alchemy is the emotional world, it's water. Flame alchemy is boundaries. You need them both. The flame alchemy protects the soul alchemy. Okay, or protects the soul. Okay, so the pillar of coherence. This is the last thing you need to understand when it comes to flame integration. This is the access that ties it all together. It is the central thread that weaves through everything you're living. Without it, the pieces stay separate. With it, the path becomes embodiment. Coherence is not about perfection. It's the state of being whole while walking through fragmentation. Okay, so the thresholds that we talked about is about soul timing for activation. Okay, the soul mirrors are about initiators who reflect shadow and truth. The soul and flame alchemy is about internal transformation. Okay, stillness is the listening state where the oversoul can land. But the pillar of coherence is letting you know that you are a temple, you are a flame, but without coherence, your field gets split by mimic timelines, emotional flooding, and performance patterns, which is everything we talked about today. Coherence means what you feel matches what you choose. What you say matches what your anchor. What you carry matches what you give. It's not alignment as in self-help terms, but it's overall frequency in the body being sustained by the choices that you make. Okay, meaning that your emotions, your thoughts and your emotions align so you can take the appropriate action. The coherence is the action that you decide to take because of who you are. Okay, so the spiritual nature of your journey is that, again, you're not climbing a ladder, you're moving in a spiral. Each return is deeper, clearer, and more embodied. Every 7, 9, and 13-year cycle brings you back to the same truth. But now you hold it in a way that won't collapse your nervous system. Because when you start doing the work, your nervous system is rewiring itself. Love you back, Irie. Okay, so every 7, 9, and 13-year cycle brings you back to the same truth. But now you can hold it in a way that won't collapse your nervous system. So the 25-year threshold initiates fragmentation awareness, while the 33-year gate anchors your soul's mission. The 36 to 44 arc restores multidimensional memory. Each one is not a start, it's a turn of this spiral. Okay? So that's what you have to understand within coherence. It spirals. You're always going to come back to the same point. And when you come back, you need to make a choice that's in alignment with you, where you are right now, not what you did before. Where are you right now? How much growth have you made up until this point? Apply the wisdom. Your thoughts and your emotions have to align so you can take the appropriate action. Okay? Have you done the work? That's the question. Now you've done the work, can you apply it? Okay, so the first thing you need to understand about coherence is that everything works in a spiral nature. You will always come back to the same point, but this time with heightened awareness. You have to make the choice that's in coherence with you. The second thing you need to understand is the law of soul tone. Okay, every soul has a tone, a harmonic signature, which is your frequency. Everything that you come in contact with affects your tone. This clothes that I have on, the words that are coming out of my mouth, it's moving me up and down dimensions, right? What I choose to eat is moving me up and down frequency. Okay, so the law of the soul tone is saying that you hold a specific tone, you hold a specific harmonic frequency. When you speak, when you touch, when you move, or when you choose in your true tone, you become magnetic. Okay, your thoughts are electric, your heart and your womb are magnetic. Okay, you need to be heart-led. Remember, high consciousness before Christ consciousness. You need to be heart-led. Magnetism. Okay, the flame is the fire, the soul tone is the song. Okay, your coherence comes from walking as your true tone, not just your true thoughts. So many of us walk as our thoughts because we cannot separate ourselves from our thoughts. Thoughts are electric. Thoughts do not attract, they repel. Okay, magnetism, that is what attracts. Okay, so it has to be you listening to your body and you not listening to your mind. Your thoughts cannot work alone. You get the information, which is your thoughts, your ideas, your whatever. You use your emotion to understand, to figure out how you, on a soul level, you relate to this information. Do you like it or do you not like it? And then you take the appropriate action based off of that. If you like it, you go towards it. If you don't like it, you set a boundary, you move away from it. That is what coherence is. The Holy Trinity, the thoughts, the emotions, the actions, the mind, the body, the soul, in alignment. The Mother, the Father, the Son, in alignment. Those are your 3 states of consciousness: thoughts, emotions, actions. Thoughts cannot work alone. So many of us are stuck in our mind. The mind is the matrix. The mind cannot help you to make the decision. The mind has to be paired with the soul, which is the emotion. The thoughts have to be paired with the emotions. How do you feel about what you just received? Then you can take the appropriate action. But until those 2 things marry, the masculine and the feminine, the thought and the emotion, you're not able to make conscious decisions based on who you are on a soul level. It's not just your thoughts. It is your heart. You need to feel into your body. How does that make you feel? If it makes you feel good, yes. If it doesn't, boundary, move away. Okay. Next is the field of the body. The body isn't just a vehicle, it is a grid system. So it holds memory value, and that's held in your spine and your fascia. And next time we're going to talk about, I'm going to give y'all some breathing exercises, how to breathe into your spine, because you breathe from 3 places. You breathe from your crown, you breathe from your heart, you breathe from your womb. All 3 of those have 3 different states of consciousness. You breathe from your head, your crown, your pineal gland in the center, that soft spot. You breathe from your heart, you breathe from your womb. And you can breathe up your spine because that's where the memory lies. And your breath is the fire in your body. It burns through all distortion, all blockages. And I'm going to give y'all some practical things to do next time, but I had to explain this part first before we even got there. Okay. So it's a memory. It holds memory. Okay. And that's held in your spine, in your fascia. It's also emotional codes, which are held in your water, in your womb. That's why you have to breathe into your womb. You have to breathe into your womb and breathe into your heart, because those are memory vaults. That's how you unlock the memories. Okay. And then oversoul receptors, which are your hands, which is your heart, and which is your breath. All of those are oversoul receptors. Okay. So you have memory value that's hidden in your spine and your fascia. You have emotional codes that's hidden in your water and your womb. You have oversoul receptors, which is your heart, your hands, your breath. To walk your flame path fully, you have to rest your body like a temple. It is not just about work, 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 work. We're constantly going through cycles of work and rest. You need both. The masculine cycle is work. The rest cycle is feminine. Sorry, the feminine cycle is rest. You need them both. You need them both. So when your body is tired and your mind is saying, I need to have a productive day, but you are struggling to get out of bed, you do not listen to your mind. You listen to your body, because that's what your soul needs. Your mind is always busy, 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 busy. Why? Because we live in a society that has your mind always busy, 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 busy. It has you living out of the mind. You cannot live out of the mind, because that's not you operating in your true tone. That's you operating out of your thoughts. You have to operate out of your emotions, out of your body. How do you feel? And if it's not a good day, it's not a good day. Sit down. What do you need? But you have to rest your body like a temple, because your body is rewiring itself. Even if you can't see the spiritual work, your body is rewiring itself. It needs space and time to do that. And that's why you feel so exhausted, because your central nervous system is rewiring itself. Your brain is creating new neural pathways so it can send the new signals. That takes a lot out of your body. Do you get what I'm saying? So you have to rest. You also have to cleanse it like it's a grid. You need to fast. When you can fast, you bring more light into your body. You become more crystalline. You clean out your crown. You need to move your body like a current, because one, that's how you channel down energy, but it also is how you create space. You move the dense energy. Stagnant and dense energy is cold energy. So if you move your body, what happens? You get hot. You turn that cold energy into high vibrating energy, and then it disperses that blocked energy. It's like going to run on a treadmill. Your legs feel very, very tight until you get further into the run. And now that you've gotten hotter and hotter and hotter, your muscles have stretched. It's like getting in the shower and all of a sudden you're more flexible when you get out. It's because you became hot. Stagnant energy, blocked energy is cold energy. You don't move your body enough. That stagnant energy in your hips, stuck emotional energy, but you don't move your body enough. So you need to move your body like a current. And then you also need to trust in yourself like an oracle. Trust your intuition. Trust yourself before you trust anybody else. Stop asking other people what they think. The vision was not given to them, because it's not their vision. It's your vision. It's meant for you to execute, not them. Why are you asking them? And they can't even get inside the club. You have to learn how to guide and direct yourself and understand it's not the decision. It's your commitment to the decision. Choose whatever you think is going to make you the happiest. Choose whatever you think is the best for you. Go with that and commit. And if it ever stops working, change directions. It is that simple. We be too focused on doing it wrong. You have to do it wrong to get it right. Sorry, I start speaking for my soul for a second. My bad. I'm a little intense. All right. And then the last part is the dream layer. And this is no journey of the flame or the soul is complete without dream integration. Your dreams are not distractions. They are your oversoul's terrain. Okay. So every major threshold is initiated first in the dream field. And we talked about the dream field in that very, very, very first. Hi, where have you been? Darius, where have you been, friend? Okay, I'm sorry, y'all. I got excited. So I talked about the dream field in the first episode, right? I talked about the dream field, the dream libraries, all of the things. Okay. Every major threshold is going to be initiated first in the dream field. I got initiated through singing. Some people are getting initiated through dolphin initiations, meaning like the dolphins and the whales, the mermaids and shit's coming to them. Some people are being initiated through their ancestors, meaning they'll see a circle of their ancestors around them and they like anoint them or something like that. You know, I'm seeing it in different ways based off of what my clients are telling me. Okay. So you can embrace this by making sure that you seal your field before sleep. I did that protection class a couple weeks ago. It's for $64.44 on my website. It's 3.5 hours. It teaches you how to protect yourself based on ancient technology, based on how they used to do it. I give you rituals. I give you how to open your heart. I give you how to cleanse your wound. I tell you how to do energy work. We talk about shadow work. We talk about everything in that protection class. Okay. How to make crystal grids around your bed so that you can protect yourself as you sleep. We talk about dream catchers. I'll tell you how to make your own anointing oil and what bases to use, what herbs to use, all of the things. Okay. If you need help with that, that's there. So you need to seal your field before you go to sleep. You need to ask that only your true oversoul tone is able to enter your dream gates. You need to record subtle impressions, not just the big visions. Like you need to record everything. Have a dream journal. Okay. And then you need to treat your dreams like a soul map, not just symbols. I actually had this weird dream the other night, which was really crazy. And I understand now it was initiation. It was a 2-part dream. One of them was I was somewhere and the guy that I was with, and I had been traveling with him for a while, and I could tell that this was a memory. And we were in these tents that kind of looked like circus tents in a way. It was like a huge tenting structure. And I see the guy that I'm with get unalived by this woman. And she put him into a deep freezer. And I could see like her unalive him. I see her put him in a deep freezer. And then the next scene, she's in our room and we have a map for something. And for some reason on this map, I could see a dark, like it was a smudge on the map. And I could see a dark figure like standing on the map. And the only reason why I saw the map is because she was rummaging through his stuff and she opened the map. And for some reason, I knew that this was his soul map. Like, I don't know why. I don't know what it was. And she took the map. And for some reason, it appeared on her back, like she tatted it over her back. And I walk into the room and I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I was just looking for something. And she handed me like a razor or something that was his and was like, oh, I can't find the power cord, whatever. Like act like she was supposed to be there. And I couldn't let it go in my soul. I knew she wasn't. I knew something had happened. And so I ran out and I started attacking her. And as I did, somebody like, she had a heel or something. She hit me in my third eye with the heel and I see myself dying. But while I was having this vision, I was all of the people. So I couldn't tell like who was what and what was what or whatever. And so right after that dream, I woke up, I wrote that down or whatever. I went back to sleep and there was a lady in my bathroom. And as I was going through my bathroom, my door looked so different and it had a button that said reset on it. And I hit reset and my door like came in and then it flipped to the side and it came down and it was like new locks on the door or whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. And I go into the bathroom and it's this lady in there and she's doing candle magic and she has like these candles in these different containers. And she asked me to choose which one I wanted, like which path I wanted or whatever. And I got like kind of stuck in a second because I was like worried about her like burning this thing or whatever. But she asked me to choose the path. I chose it and she gave me all three. And then she said she needs to go up to like the other side of my apartment, like up the stairs of my apartment. She wanted to look upstairs, which is like going up into your mind in a dream. And at first I was like, I started to feel shame, but I was like, whatever, she's here to help, whatever it is. And she goes upstairs. She's like, oh, this is kind of crazy. What is this doing here? Whatever. And she initiated me through something. And I had no idea what the hell she was doing. Initiations come in a multitude of different ways is what I'm basically saying. In that dream or in that, which I actually think was a soul memory, somebody hit me directly through my third eye, which means that at some point in my journey, my gifts were shut off by somebody else, right? She comes in, she initiates me, she goes upstairs and she removes whatever it is that needs to be removed. Initiations look like a bunch of different things, okay? That's why it's so important for you to write down your dreams, because I seen that soul map with that being standing, like a cloaked being standing on the soul map, and there was a smudge near the soul map, and the lady who had killed the man put it on her back. Like, there was some interference there. It's basically what I got from that. So initiations come in all different ways. Write your dreams down is basically what I'm saying. Okay. So how do we tie all this together? The thresholds equal sacred timing. Okay. The way that you can figure out when your thresholds are and what type of energy you'll need to release and all of that is astrology. Astrology is the oversoul map. It's the timing of everything, the timing that everything happens. It is the map of your soul. It is the path to ascension. Okay. Astrology is going to tell you the threshold points, when everything is going to happen. Okay. So the threshold points, which I talked about, the 25th birthday, the 33rd birthday, the 36th birthday. Next is the 44th birthday, which I didn't talk about all of the thresholds, but it's 44, 55, 66 after that. Okay. So you keep going through these thresholds. Astrology tells you when you go through the thresholds. Okay. Then the catalyst reflections are the mirrors. The catalysts on your journey are going to be the mirrors that we talked about. The different people that you meet along your journey who are meant to initiate you or awaken you or push you onto new timelines, help you to transform, right? Alchemy, whether it's soul alchemy, flame alchemy, is how you transform. It's the transformation stage. Coherence is embodied congruence. It is how you embody your oversoul. Okay. Your soul tone is your tonal truth. Your soul tone is your truth. Your frequency is your truth. You need to be clearing your truth. Your body is the grid that's anchoring. You are the grid point. Your body is the grid that's anchoring. You got to take care of it. You got to give it rest. You got to do all those things. And your dream field is multidimensional remembrance. It helps you to remember all things, all lifetime, all everything. And at the center of all of that, you are the living pillar. Okay? You are the living pillar. Oh, damn. I put this in the wrong place in my notes. Okay? So that's how it all ties together. Now, flame integration, like I said, is not only soul alchemy, flame alchemy, but it's also the coherence that comes along. Okay? There's one more part that I left out of soul and flame alchemy and flame integration that I need to input here because I put it in the wrong place in my notes, meaning that I wrote this episode kind of backwards. So anyways, so soul alchemy helps you to heal what's fragmented. It helps you to reclaim what was forgotten. It helps you to restore emotions and memory flow. It is the water path. Okay. It's the journey of remembrance, of feeling whole, of feeling all together. Flame alchemy purifies what was distorted. Okay. It activates what was dormant. It reclaims power, voice, and sacred fire. It is the fire path. So it's the journey of sovereignty, of clarity, and of spiritual tone. It helps you get that soul tone. Flame integration is the whole vibrational state together. It's when the water or the soul and the fire or the flame fuse through the body, and the oversoul presence holds the field without needing to be summoned, meaning you don't got to call on your oversoul. You are the oversoul. Soul alchemy completes enough to stop the leaking in your energy field. Flame alchemy matures enough to stop the purging. Okay, you're just comfortable where you are. Oversoul fully descends into the temple, which is you, your body, and your daily life becomes your flame path. It's not separate from it. So it's no longer a practice, it is your presence. So what you do when you inflame integration is that you speak only what matches your overtone. You anchor fields in conversations, in spaces, in business, in ritual automatically. You don't have to do anything. You stop oscillating between shadow and mimic confusion. I can't tell you how many people come to me who are stuck in a state of confusion. And that confusion requires them not to move because they need to know the whys. They need to know the truth of everything. They need to know why this happened, why that happened, how. We were never meant to know everything. Confusion is a natural part of life. You still need to be able to make your decisions based off of what you want. If you focus on the how and the what and the why, that is what keeps you stuck in a trauma loop. Until you stop focusing on that and you start focusing on what you actually want in life, you are going to stay in pain and suffering. Okay? You walk as a pillar of frequency, not just a seeker of clarity, and you protect others by holding the field without distortion. Soul alchemy reconnects memory and it heals fragmentation, where flame alchemy reclaims power and purifies distortion. Flame integration embodies coherence. It anchors mission and it walks as oversoul flame. So flame integration is not spiritual performance. It's not emotional suppression. It's not intellectual mastery. It has nothing really to do with what's going on up here. It's not you being done with healing, and it's not perfection. It is sovereign coherence. Okay. So the last message that I want to give y'all is that everything that you have been through in your life has been initiation. It has not been punishment. All of the betrayals, all of the attacks, the loneliness, the exhaustion, it was never about breaking you. It was to forge your discernment without shutting down your heart, which we talked about in the previous session. So many of us have shut down our heart. Again, I have that protection class that gives you a ritual to do. It gives you multiple rituals to do to clear your field, to open your heart, to clear your womb, all of the things. If you need help, go get it. Okay? You are built to carry light, but light needs wise boundaries in this dense and distorted world. Otherwise, the light becomes food for those still trapped in the shadows. Okay, I did a video this week about spiritual attachments. Those are the energies that feed off of your energy. You need to have awareness of what they are and what they do. Because in that class, I tell you how to protect yourself from them. Okay, but you need to have awareness of what they do. In that video, I also tell you, you were never meant to become hard. You were meant to become sovereign. There is a difference. You were never meant to stop loving. You were meant to love with wisdom. Meaning if you burn your hand on that stove, next time you put on a mitten. So what does that look like for you? It looks like you blessing all beings, but only allowing aligned ones to enter into your inner sanctum. It is okay for you to love everybody and have love for everybody, but be selective about who you let get close to you. It's you seeing the divine in everyone, understanding that everybody has a purpose and everybody has a mission, right? But also recognizing when someone is choosing distortion and protecting yourself accordingly. Okay, there's a such thing as being too understanding. Just because you understand why somebody behaves the way that they behave, don't mean that you need to be at the detriment to their dysfunction. It is okay for you to say, you know what? I understand that this is not about me and I don't even take this personal, but at the same time, I am not going to tolerate abuse. I deserve better. It is okay for you to say that. That is not abandoning that person. That is choosing your well-being, because that person is not where you are. That person is not aligned with where you are. You are not meant to fix them, heal them, or save them. They have to choose that for themselves. That is the biggest truth of this whole entire experience. You cannot do the work for other people. You don't even know the plan for other people to be able to do the fucking work for other people. They have to choose that for themselves, or you're not going to be able to save them. Okay? So you have to recognize when they're choosing distortion, and you have to protect yourself. It is okay for you to offer compassion freely. Compassion is just presence, guys. Compassion is just you holding presence for other people, you holding space for other people. But trust needs to be offered slowly. They need to earn it through resonance. They have to show you that they are trustworthy through their resonance first. You can offer compassion. Do not offer your trust so fucking easy. I was very naive in the beginning half of my life because I thought that people act the same way that I did. People operated the same way that I operated. I thought because I was honest, people were honest. Because I was loyal, people were loyal. I got my fucking ass handed to me over and over and over again. I've learned some of the worst lessons through relationships and through friendships because I thought that people operate like me. Do not be naive. That is not the reality that you live in. It is not. Most people are in distortion, period, point blank. Most people are living in distortion. Most people are trying to protect themselves from being hurt. Most people have hardened. They have not chose the path that you have chose. You cannot be naive in that. It's going to cause you a lot more hurt. Okay? Than necessary. You have to release those who harm you without hate. Okay? There is no reason for you to repeat the harm and keep entering into a field that is harming you. If you enter into a field that you know that is harming you, that is self-neglect. That is self-betrayal. And I hate to say it so harshly, but that's the only thing that you can call it. That is self-betrayal and self-harm. If it is harming you, don't keep going over there. Don't keep inserting yourself there. Don't keep thinking that you're enough to change them. It has nothing to do with you. They have to change themselves. They have to see their own value. They have to see their own potential. And just because you can see it doesn't mean that you should tolerate abuse. They can't see it. And that's more important. They can't see it. And if they can't see it, they're not willing to change. You're just going to get hurt. And you're foolish to think otherwise. And I hate to say it that way, but it is the truth. Okay? You have to release those people who are harming you. And it does not have to be a hateful thing. It is okay for you to understand why they did what they did or understand where they're coming from. But it does not mean you have to stay. It does not mean that you have to continue to give access. That is self-neglect. That is self-betrayal. Okay? You can love everyone, but only a few, again, can have access to your inner world. This is not you being cruel. This is called sacred stewardship. Okay, this is not you being cruel. You are a sacred temple, your body and your soul. All temples are open to all people, but only those who are pure at heart and who are initiated can enter into the inner spaces. Period. Your body is a temple. Start acting like you're a temple. Your soul is a temple. You don't need to keep absorbing silently and moving without structure. You can live as a radiant flame inside of a sovereign shield. And that is what this whole episode is about. So please remember, bless but block. You can send love without leaving yourself exposed to other people. Witness but do not absorb. You can sense distortion without letting it root into your field. Compassion sometimes can be a weapon formed against you. Especially if you bond with that person, you resonate with that person, you try to absorb with that person, you there with them. I'm there with you, baby. I've been through that too. You just created a cord for whatever is on them to come to you. This is important for when I talk about what Amara was doing to protect herself throughout her daily life. Next time, okay? Release, but learn. You can move on with wisdom and without an open wound. Release it. Sit with it. Feel it. Don't run from it. Sit with it. Do some releasing. Journal it. Alchemize it. I just told you how to alchemize. Alchemize it. Put it somewhere. I like to write a letter, then I speak it out loud with conviction, and then I burn it because fire releases, and then I go into visualization. I call that person forward in my light. I take my motherfucking power back, and if I need to cuss them out, I will go ahead and do that too, because balance, baby. You do not need to be perfect. Okay? Love, but filter. You can offer kindness without offering endless access. There's a difference between being nice and being kind. Being nice is you suppressing who you actually are and what you actually want, whereas being kind still holds truth. If you're at a bar and a guy comes up to you at a bar and he says, "Hey, can I buy you a drink?" You look at him and you realize, no, I'm not interested. There's something off about this. Okay. Being kind is you politely saying, "Hey, I'm not interested. Thank you so much though." "Well, why ain't you drinking with me? You being boring." "Okay. Thank you for the feedback. But I'm not interested. I'm not drinking today, but I really do appreciate it." That's being kind. Being nice is you collapsing, you giving in. That's what I mean when I say collapsing your field. You know that something is off. You give in because you're being nice, and now your ass is in the hospital because he done roofied your motherfucking drink. listen to yourself, trust yourself before you trust other people. Be kind, do not be nice. Okay, so how you need to shield your field before leaving your home. Wrap yourself in golden or crystalline light. Set your intentions. Only love may enter, only love may exit. The way that I do this is I breathe in, and when I breathe in from my crown or I breathe in from my heart, whichever one I feel. And I breathe in a gold light and I see a gold ball at my chest. That's on the inhale. On the exhale, I stretch it out 6 feet in each direction. Up, down, left, right, front, back. That is my shield. And then I put a mirror around the entire thing to reflect back whatever anybody trying to send to me. Then I speak over it. Only love may enter, only love may exit. Then I leave my house. You need energetic discernment. Okay, so you need to scan people. When you are meeting new people, breathe into your heart and ask, are they aligned with my highest good? And you need to feel the answer before your mind interferes. For me, I cannot get comfortable around you, or I just will like my face be turned up, balled up. I don't know what it is about you, but you give me the ick. Okay? I don't need to know why I get that ick. I'm comfortable with you giving me the ick because I know that I'm not going to be for everybody, and I hope that everybody ain't for me. Okay? But you need to ask your heart before your mind starts interfering, because there's a part of us that is conditioned towards niceness. No, I need to be nice. No, I'm a Taurus. I'm the friend that people got to come up to and be like, now, Tadra, be nice before they bring people around me, because I see everything. A Taurus with a Scorpio moon, baby. Ain't nothing getting past me. Right? So a lot of the times we get a bad vibe for people, but our mind tells us to be nice and it gaslights us. Okay? You need to build a relationship with your body, because when you build a relationship with your body, it speaks in truth, or a relationship with your gut. You can't be in a state of overconsumption, because your gut is your first line of defense when it comes to intuition. So you need to learn how you digest food, because your gut is your first line of defense. Your gut operates in truth. Your heart operates from emotion. Your head operates from logic. If you can get in alignment with your gut, ain't nothing getting past you. Nothing. It operates in truth. Okay? Soul contracts of access. So speak this silently. Only those who honor my soul's sovereignty are allowed into my inner circle. You make a soul contract with yourself. Only those who honor my soul sovereignty are allowed into my inner space. And the last thing is you need to do daily cleansing rituals. Salt baths. Get you 1 cup of sea salt. Morton's, Kroger's, $1.50 at most. Smoke cleanse. So, white sage, dragon's blood sage, bad habits. Okay. Palo Santo. Okay. Incense. Okay. Nanga Champa, whatever the hell. Smoke cleanse. And you smoke cleanse from the bottom up. Okay. Bottom up. Back down. Or you can go crown to root. Root to crown. Okay. But you need to smoke clear, or you can sound clear. Sound bowls. Crystal sound bowls, or Tibetan sound bowls. You can clear, and that helps you to sound clearing, removes entities. There is a YouTube channeler called Chakra Vibrations. Yes, crystal bowls. That's one I would use if you're going to use one that is not crystal bowls. Meditative Mind. Okay, those are the ones I use personally, and I've been using them for 2-3 years now to fix and heal my DNA. I sleep with them. Some nights I do, some nights I don't, but most nights I do. Every single day I sound heal. Every single day. Every single day. Because your body is feminine, and that is feminine energy, sound. Masculine energy is light. Feminine energy is sound. Okay? Or, no, sound clearing is the last one, and it helps to remove entities, but it also helps to remove distortions that may have brushed against your field throughout the day. So these are daily things that you do. I don't salt bath daily, but I do smoke clear and I do sound clear every single day. Okay. But whatever you do, do not shut your heart off. Don't stop loving. Just love wisely instead. Love with wisdom. You're not here to stop shining. You're actually here to shine in a way that fuels your soul instead of drains it. Okay. Chakra vibrations. Okay. So that is the lesson for today. Next week, we will get back to talking about Amara. Okay. But I need y'all to understand why we came here, what we came here to do, what the path is, and all of the things, because it's going to help you understand why she chose the decisions, why she made the decisions that she did, and also understand why she did the daily rituals that she did as well, which is something we're going to talk about next time, because we're going to do a day in the life, which is basically, yes, this will be on YouTube. We're going to do a day in a life. We're going to talk about what she did during the fall and stuff like that. And you're not going to really understand unless you understand this. Okay. I would suggest going back and listening to this again. But now we move on to the questions from the Patreon. If you're not on my Patreon, I answer questions at the end from my Patreon. You have to be in the Soul Tribe tier. It is www.patreon.com/becomingknown. BECOMINGNOONE. Becoming No One. All right. So Laura said, when standing in integrity, you don't get caught up in distractions and distortions. These stages are so on point. I can visualize experiences from each stage. We are programmed to be busy. So if we have to be still, it feels wrong. It's unlearning and relearning. Yes. Is the soul initiator like somebody who died, whether it's a close friend or a family member or a stranger, killed from social injustice? It actually could be. Yes. So turning 25 is a turn in a spiral. Yes, it's a threshold point, and you get to choose whether or not you're going to walk through that threshold or not. Meaning by your choices. You either choose to service to others or service to self. You either choose to heal and remember, or you choose to stay like you are. Okay. So it's a turning point. It's a threshold point where it helps you to walk back towards remembrance. Okay. Vanessa B said, can you please define what you mean when you say coherence? Got it. I actually just did that. Sorry, I did that later on in the episode. So I know I answered that for you, Vanessa. But coherence is just alignment. It's you making choices that are aligned with your soul. You moving through life with integrity and listening to yourself over other people. Callie said, can breathing through the spine help with remembering grief? What do you mean remembering grief? Are you trying to remember something that was traumatic, or what do you mean by remembering grief? This is about to make me cry at work because I didn't know how to say it. It's been so painful not knowing how to put it. Yeah, that's why it's important for us to kind of share our experiences with other people, because a lot of times what we can't put into words, other people can, and that's still validating in some way, you know? Sorry. A lot of memories are locked in your spine, though. Just to answer your question, the reason why I'm asking you remembering grief, some of the grief that we have doesn't really belong to us. And when we start to walk the path and become more light, we activate some of those codes of grief, and in that grief, in that pain, are hidden energy that we're supposed to be alchemizing. Okay. So yeah, I hope that answers it. So yeah, guys, that is it. That is all for our lesson for today. I love y'all for coming. I love y'all to life. I maybe be on here another time this week. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today. Next week we'll meet at the same time, 1:00, 1 p.m. Pacific time, 3 Central, 4 Eastern, to continue the conversation on Amara. Yeah, this will be on my YouTube, y'all. My YouTube is Big Taj with 2 J's. All of my long form content, this whole entire series, this is episode 8. So if you haven't seen episode 1 through 7, it is on my YouTube, bigtaj.com. It's in the Spiritual Talk playlist. So Spiritual Talk with Big Taj playlist. It is everything. And I also have all of my long form content is on YouTube. But yeah, my lives are on YouTube. Some of the readings that I've done is on YouTube. A lot of my TikTok content is on YouTube. So YouTube is kind of like my place where everybody can, like all of my content kind of is. And I make a lot of posts through my YouTube as well. So if I need people for free readings or anything like that, because I do free readings every 2 weeks with my spiritual mentors, my mentees, I do readings for them every 2 weeks. So I need new people every 2 weeks. And so I make posts on YouTube or in my Patreon, Taj with 2Js, or my Patreon, to let people know when I have availability and stuff like that. But yeah, I make a lot of announcements through my YouTube as well. It's kind of like more community based than any of my other platforms, I would say. So check out my YouTube if you haven't. Hey T. Check out my YouTube if you haven't, because that's where all the content is. And this actually live will be available because I'm recording it on YouTube down here and TikTok up here. So it'll be available as soon as I get off a live. So happy learning, friends. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments for me. Again, I do have that spiritual protection course that is available on my website, which is www.bigtaj.com. If you click underneath the picture where it says book a service, that's all of my readings, human design readings, which is telling you how your oversoul embodies in this reality, mini readings, which I just did one to this morning that she loved, which is amazing, and stuff like that. So yeah, I have a client in an hour, so I love y'all, but I will talk to y'all later. Alrighty. Bye. Bye, YouTube. Thank you for coming.